midweek edition of your favorite breakfast show on the block. Good morning and welcome to the AM show. Across Ghana's 16 regions on the Joy News channel, around the world on myjoyonline.com, I'm Sweetie Abochi.
And I am Samuel Kojo Brace. Thanks for allowing us into your spaces, your homes, offices. Wherever you are, we are grateful for making us part of your morning.
Well, this morning, let's tell you what we have in store for you. We'll start, like we do always, with the AM news. And after that, we'll sit with our guests to review the newspapers. Today, Dr. Kwame Asasante, he's head, Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and Dr. Jibril Mohammed, senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Both will be joining us to review the newspapers. And after that, Mufta Nabil Abdullahi will serve you AM Sport. And then our big stories.
In our big stories today, President John Dramani Mahama assures stakeholders that recommendations from the ongoing National Education Forum will be effectively utilized to drive meaningful reforms in the education sector, and reiterates government's commitment to prioritizing education by implementing comprehensive reforms to enhance the sector. This morning, we speak to the stakeholders as we enter day 2 of the National Education Forum.
We'll bring you.
Director of the Ghana Education Ghana Gold Expo has been speaking.
Yes, that is Dr. Stephen Aka. He's making an appeal to the government to reduce taxes within the extractive sector. We'll tell you why when James Ishen brings us AM Business today. You don't want to miss any of our conversation on the AM show, and you can follow on all social media platforms. We are Joy News on TV. Folks, welcome aboard the AM show. Let's start with the AM news now. This is the AM news. Let's start from some health stories because Ghana has officially recorded its first case of the respiratory disease human metapneumovirus, that is the HMPV. The World Health Organization recently reported a surge in cases of the flu-like human metapneumovirus in China, which has raised fears of another COVID-style pandemic. According to Health Minister Kwabena Mintah-Kando, the government is on top of the situation in a bid to prevent a nationwide outbreak. We'll get to more on that shortly, but first, Health Minister Kwabena Mintah-Kando has been providing an update on the recent cholera and meningitis outbreak. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante reports.
In the last 6 months, Ghana has been witnessing a surge in cholera cases as well as meningitis, particularly in the northern part of the country. Last week, Health Minister Kwabena Mintah-Kando was ordered by the Speaker of Parliament to appear before the House and brief MPs on the situation. Kwabena Mintah-Kando complied with this directive and today provided an update in terms of the cholera situation across the country.
As of 13 February 2025, we have recorded 6,145 cases, 719 confirmed cases, and unfortunately 49 deaths. Despite worrying situation in the central region, Mr. Speaker, I bring encouraging news. New cholera cases are decreasing, and the district of Aguna West and the Futu, which were initially hard hit, are now showing a decline in new cases. Mr. Speaker, as of 16 February, only central region had active cases.
There is also the matter of meningitis, which the minister explained government is on top of the situation and is dealing with it.
In the current season, as of Sunday, 16 February, we had recorded over 129 cases and unfortunately 16 deaths, while 29 people are currently on admission. Our efforts are paying off, Mr. Speaker. Already a wave of improvement is evident in the Upper West region, where new meningitis cases are decreasing. This positive change follows the Ministry of Health's swift and decisive actions, which included deploying experts to support local teams.
Still on the health front, though, the health minister confirmed that Ghana has had its first case of HMPV. This is a respiratory disease that is fueling concerns that the world may be returning to COVID-style lockdowns.
Human metapneumovirus. Mr. Speaker, we have also identified a single case of human metapneumovirus, HMPV, in the country. Human metapneumovirus, HMPV, is a respiratory virus that can cause a range of respiratory illness from mild cold-like symptoms to severe pneumonia. While it can affect people of all ages, it is most commonly seen in young children, older adults, and those with weakened immune system. In response to recent increase in respiratory cases in China and some temperate countries in December 2024, as part of our routine surveillance, we commenced testing for human metapneumovirus HMPV this year in January 2025. So far, a total of 90 samples have been selected for testing, and only one positive case has been detected for HMPV. This was detected from an elderly person. Mr. Speaker, I want to assure the House that the risk of HMPV in Ghana remains low.
Reacting to this statement, Minority Leader Alexander Fejo-Makin pushed for more vaccination in the Efutu constituency, which has become one of the main hotspots for cholera outbreak in the country.
The statement, he said that the infection rate in the central region has Efutu topping, which is true. However, in terms of vaccination, his submission points to the fact that they are yet to get approval for Efutu. I felt that that should rather be prioritized, because if Agona West is recording just 6 and you have 18 in Efutu and you are rather vaccinating in Agona West, you may have to look at it.
The health minister ultimately has been assuring the House that the government is on top of the situation when it comes to these public health emergencies. According to Kwabena Minta Kando, enough measures have been put in place to ensure that we do not see a countrywide outbreak leading to so many deaths which are preventable. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Kweku Asante from Parliament House, Accra.
The Ghana Journalists Association has called on President John Dramani Mahama to fulfill his campaign promises of protecting journalists. This appeal follows a series of attacks on media personnel, including Joy News' Erastus Asare Donko and Oheming Tewia, in their fight against illegal mining. The GJA also referenced recent assaults on journalists in the Ashanti region during the Council of State elections. Speaking at a press conference, GJA President Albert Jumfor urged President Mahama to personally intervene and ensure that perpetrators are held accountable. Despite assurances from the Ghana Police Service regarding the progress on investigations, the GJA has announced plans to escalate the matter to the ECOWAS court.
Following attacks on journalists during the Council of State elections in the Ashanti region and also attacks on 2 journalists in Wale Wale, as well as attacks on Erastus Asare Donko and Oheming Tewia, who are both journalists at Multimedia, during their visits at some illegal mining site, President of the Ghana Journalists Association has called on President John Dramani Mahama to ensure investigations are thoroughly done and also perpetrators are brought to book.
We wish to take this opportunity to appeal to one of our own senior member of this fraternity, the President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama, to take a personal interest in these cases as the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces and ensure that the perpetrators are arrested, arraigned, and punished for their crimes.
President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Kwabena Jumfor, also gave an update on the Ahmed Swale and other journalists who were murdered. According to the president, despite assurance from the Ghana Police Service, specifically the Inspector General of Police, Dr. Ekufu Dampare, the association will head to court if the Ghana Police Service failed to meet the deadline given.
The IGP gave me heartwarming assurances in dealing with these issues. And to that extent, we wish to highly commend him. While holding the assurances of the IGP in good faith, we still remain faithful to our demands, and that if we don't see or hear anything concrete from the police after the end of March, 2025, we shall proceed to the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice.
Reporting for Joy News, Collins Frimpong.
In today's episode of Climate Focus, the Forestry Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, in partnership with the Forestry Commission, has organized a one-day workshop for stakeholders in the Bono East region on sustainable small-scale woodlot management for bioenergy and rural livelihood improvement. The workshop, according to the Deputy Director for the Institute, Professor Emmanuel Opuni Frimpong, aims at equipping charcoal producers with the necessary knowledge and skills to efficiently manage small-scale woodlots as a means of mitigating environmental impact. And Asabit tells us more.
Wood fuel, primarily charcoal and firewood, has over the years been the main source of energy for cooking for 2/3 of households in sub-Saharan Africa and is a critical element in maintaining food security. With millions of households depending on wood fuel production to make a living, a heavy reliance on it makes environment and health concerns, and with many governments focusing on bans and restrictions of the commodity, there is a need for policy makers as well as researchers to undertake demand-driven research, build capacity and promote the application of technologies for sustainable management of forest resources for the benefit of society. As a result, the Forestry Research Institute of Ghana under the CSIR is implementing a project to enhance sustainable woodlot management for bioenergy production in Ghana. Professor Emmanuel Opuni Frimpong is a professor of forest health and a deputy director at the institute.
Today, based on the views that we have tapped in here with the discussion that has gone on, it's clear that the project is going to go a long way to support sustainability of the charcoal business, sustainability of woodlot establishment, for us to achieve the objective for which the funds has been given to us.
Professor Opuni Frimpong further emphasized that the project, aside its social and economic benefits, will go a long way in helping the country's agenda of climate change mitigation, as it encourages people to plant trees for charcoal production instead of depleting the forest for that same purpose.
If people accept this principle of rather planting trees to burn charcoal instead of going into the forest reserves and the already forest cover to deplete it more, then it's going to help Ghana's agenda of contributing to climate change mitigation and reducing stress that climate change is putting on the total environment. So this project is, apart from going to support businesses in charcoal and wood fuel businesses, is also going to help to mitigate climate change and contribute to Ghana's sustainable development efforts.
Some of the participants, most of whom are stakeholders in the industry, underscored the relevance of the engagement and called for more engagements to help minimize the indiscriminate felling of trees for charcoal production.
Yes, I think that with the climate change and its impact on our lives, nobody should be told that indeed we should stop cutting trees indiscriminately. Again, from this project, we need to be conscious of planting trees and protecting them so that we will be able to help solve some of the environmental problems, the challenges that we are facing.
It should be a collaboration project, like between government and I know the government alone cannot take it up. So NGOs should help, whilst the government also holds another part. Yeah, for it to be sustainable, so that they will help a large number of group of people. Yeah, so it should be a collaborative work between the government and the NGOs for them to establish the woodlot.
The project also equips small-scale farmers and women groups with a comprehensive training curriculum, and trainees secure sustainable livelihoods while contributing to climate change mitigation. Anna Sabit, Joy News.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
In other stories, Chief Executive of the Ghana National Ambulance Service, Professor Ahmed Nuhu Zakaria, is urging state agencies to withstand the infiltration of partisanship and political influences in the discharge of professional duties. He warned that political interference could jeopardize and ultimately harm the public, while emphasizing the need to ensure the effectiveness of ambulance services in saving lives. He says allegiance to the state should be placed above party loyalty. Here's Clinton Yeboah's report.
Emergency medical services is one of the critical healthcare systems that responds to emergencies in need of highly skilled pre-hospital clinicians. The nature of EMS demands professionalism of players for an improved national health system. CEO of the National Ambulance Service, Professor Ahmed Nuhu Zakaria, expects staff with political associations to lobby for more resources to enhance service delivery and improve emergency medical services. His comment comes as some staff of state agencies allow their political lineages to cloud professionalism, especially with a change in government.
Professional bodies like this, the excitement in change should come with the ability to maximize their relationship with the new government, to mobilize resources. But most often, they tend to rather outdo each other, try to destroy each other. When it happens, the service suffers. But for example, assuming you and myself, we belong to different parties. Your party comes into power. What it means is that you should be able to lobby for resources. Then when the reverse happens, then the table turns and you will go and lobby for resources. If we do that, you will not even feel the impact of the change, because at all material times, the service rather will be the beneficiary. Oh, the secret is just to be professional as you can, because you see, first of all, your objective is to serve your country, to serve your God, to serve your country, and to serve the states. So most of the mistakes many CEOs make is that instead of them to owe allegiance to the states, they owe allegiance to parties. And that's where the mistake is. So if you're a responsible CEO, what you should do is that you should be able to identify the area that the government of the day wants to carry EMS, and you help them carry the agenda. As soon as you are perceived as working against them, that's when you are attacked. But seriously speaking, if you are really serving the country, making sure that the right thing is done, and at that time you become the technical advisor. I hope you understand. For example, my minister is in power now. Definitely I have to coach him and guide him so that as far as EMS is concerned, what is the best that his government can achieve out of the EMS system? Professor Zakaria is, however, impressed that successive governments have respected the autonomy of the National Ambulance Service. He stressed that professionalism and commitment have instilled continuity and ensured development of the National Ambulance Service. President Kufuor started 3 regions at a time. That was what the resources could provide. We had 7 stations. Through his tenure, we were able to work. We recruited more people. I hope you understand. President Mills came, then he also took over from where he left off. President Mahama started his first term. We continued with the EMS system. President Akufo-Addo came. We continued with the EMS system. So that continuity has helped the service grow, I hope you understand, in this astronomical manner. And at all times, if you check our history, we have always served the best, in our best capacity, the government of the day, and for that matter, the state. So you become selfless. You make sure that the right things are done, even if it means you have to sacrifice. Because you see, if we are able to help the country build its EMS, our health system improves. You understand? And the reason why for EMS, we should not even bring in politics is that it's one of the few places that it doesn't know party colors. For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
Fishmongers and canoe owners in Maury in the central region have raised concerns about the location of the premix fuel machine in their community. At a news conference held in Maury, the aggrieved fishfolk called on the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture to facilitate the machine's relocation, citing its current placement as a serious threat to the community and its members. They also questioned why community members were excluded from the decision-making process and demanded accountability from the ministry. Abigail Nkrumah has more in this report.
Uncle Sam is a canoe owner and the convener of the press conference. While addressing the fisherfolk of the Maury community in the Abrasibu-Kwamankese district of the central region, He stressed on accountability by the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture regarding the station of the premix fuel machine in the community.
Since the press conference in some of the about some of them are some of the what better to machine be Mori. Aya bia yiti onugwa wo ho no kwa no for the dem to machine no sika be no wodi ya you sika dubu mbo wodi ya dem to machine no agbo anyina fofo na bonu otwetwe ya so a yanti nyeme bi ya dem yanti nyeme bi ase ya kan ni bi ori ya dem ori yin na no na mo aka be na yin da yan mun da ban fofo abado sa ban fofo abado tan ya ka kira minister wa ya dem wa be di da ya resla na ya amani mo we afarfo yo yin se de yin se na ya repo de chede the motor machine wa be no wa yin iska dudu wodi ye se mo yin wodi kisa oba aye da madin ati da man wodi ji sta ba yin iska dudu na mbo na wodi kisa oba yin mbo ni da madin na yodo nti ya ka se de minister wa be bi yin na mbo na matran some
fishmongers also expressed their grievances and urged the ministry to intervene.
They are faithful in the Siapo, may you know what the bread. And to some may you know what no one can hear Mr. Afonso, you have bread into me a young farmman. And to me, a catcher minister there, that you shall faithful, young man, I usually want to yes, you show how you go to see my farmer with the go, what I'm paying for my farmer, which you trouble her, school her, and to the matter of this year, you tell her your pen or farm panel, no picture you will be able to see. Should be a little easy. My family members, we have a name. That will be him again, baby. No, they are also. Let us for him. He can sit here and put in a different thing. Let us for him, sir. Only baby, who's the one? One of my pockets, splashing with you to me. I am your Uncle Sanka, some of the woman. Ah, so to enjoy young lady, Papa, and come to soften. Young lady, Papa, Papa,
from Moray, Abigail and Komaisol's report for Joy News.
Moving on, residents of Ebusuaso in the SHS Central District of the Ashanti region are protesting the activities of nomadic herdsmen in the community that has since destroyed vast farmlands. The aggrieved residents, who are primarily farmers, have over the years endured what they described as, quote, torture from the herders invading their source of livelihoods. The sway animals are said to have polluted the only water source in the area, forcing residents to purify water collected from the same source with chemicals like alum. 3 persons were reportedly arrested after allegedly killing a cattle flock which encroached their farms. Emmanuel Bright Kweku tells us more.
Residents of Esubuaso took to the streets of the community clad in red headgears and armbands, holding placards to vent their displeasure at the rampant destructions of their farmlands by herders. The community is known to be one of the food baskets in SHS Central, producing various foodstuffs like cassava, plantains and other crops. But the farmers must contend with the transhumans, which is derailing their efforts to produce enough to feed themselves and make an earning. The aggrieved residents recount their ordeal with the nomadic herdsmen. The nomadic herdsmen have laid siege on our farms and community. When they meet you, they will signal their animals to attack you. Until they realize you are nearing your death, that's when they will signal them to stop hunting you. Yesterday, I went to the farm to get some firewood to camp cook, but the herders attacked me. The kids are scared to go to school. The only stream in the area used by residents for various domestic chores is now heavily polluted, partly attributable to the animals drinking from the stream.
when you do good, as when I said, Pito, pa.
This alum is what we use to purify the dirty waters for use. My kids don't know how to go to the farm now. 3 persons were reportedly picked up by the police after killing some animals owned by the herdsmen. The residents are demanding the release of their colleagues and calling for an end to the herdsmen activities in the community. George Dapa is the leader of the aggrieved farmers. On Saturday, we heard the news that the 3 persons have been arrested by the police. The local authorities are aware of what is happening here. How do you arrest these innocent ones?
Assemblyman Mubi, committee chairman Mubi, and a committee for me and son so Nana Kana committee for so and Mubi, woman a dear Nimu. And think a policy for Mampo commander, Ubaba chair. And yes, sir, game and wildlife, near assemblyman no crown for our baby rest.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel. Bright quickly.
Samuel Kojobre serves you business update now.
Well, in business update on the AM News, let's start with the currency market. So that's how the currencies are performing in the market today. Away from that, labor consultant Austin Game has blamed successive governments for failing to address issues of ghost names in the payroll system of public sector workers. This, he believes, is causing a major fiscal burden on government's expenditure. His concern is coming at a time the World Bank's latest public finance review is raising concerns over Ghana's public sector wage bill. Reacting to the development, Mr. Game described ghost names as the height of corruption, which ought to be dealt with holistically.
That is not supposed to be a problem. That is at the height of corruption. If the HR system were to be properly in place, we would not have that story to be told in Ghana here at all. It is pure, plain thievery and corruption. That's all. That's what it is. Any HR person worth his salt and is well balanced will never support such a Tommy rot.
However, that the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies has threatened with actions against managers of the integrated customs management systems at the country's ports. According to the Chamber, consistent network breakdowns and other challenges are causing a lot of financial loss to members due to their inability to offload product on time, which in turn increases demurrage to members. Chairman of the Chamber, Gabriel Kumi, has been speaking with Joy Business on the situation.
If today I need some orders, I need to load products to my retail outlets, I have to place those orders through ICOM. So once the system is down, I cannot place my order. It's as simple as that. We don't have any problem if that system is making tax collection efficient. We support all that. But at the end of the day, we expect our members to have a trouble-free, no bottlenecks in placing orders. Your system should not be implemented in a way that will negatively affect our operations. That's all that we are saying. And we are calling on them to ensure that whatever bottlenecks, whatever the problem is they resolve it and reserve it permanently. Because going forward, we have tolerated these hiccups for the past 1 year. Going forward, we may not have the necessary patience to continue tolerating that.
Well, let's wrap up the business update with what is happening in the commodities market. That's all in Business Update on the AM News. Back to you, Suti Abuchi.
Thank you, Kojo, for serving us Business Update. Now let's get ready for the News Review segment because it's a wrap for the AM News. And those who join us for News Review, Dr. Kwame Asasante and Dr. Jibril Mohammed. They're joining us in a bit. Please stay with us. Today is the 19th day of February 2025, and we are going to discuss the stories that make the airwaves on the News Review segment. Kojo and I are here to steer the conversations, and let me usher in our guest, and then we get started. Dr. Kwame Asasante is head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, and later on we have Dr. Jibril Mohammed. He's also a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. They'll be joining us to review the newspapers. First, we have Dr. Kwame Asasante. Doc, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ziti, and good morning to Kojo and our viewers as well.
Great. It's good to have you. Doc, let's get straight into your trail of thoughts for us this morning.
This morning, I want to look at something which is so dear to my heart, because as a son of a farmer, I'm always alive to the changing realities of our society, that I believe the way forward is agriculture. If you look at how far this country has come, we have survived based on agriculture. It's a recent time that other things that we are endowed with are also adding up to make our lives better, i.e. minerals and the rest of them. But my focus today is on agriculture. That if this country will ever improve its fortunes, I believe that the first port of call is agriculture. Let us intensify the work of agriculture, spread it throughout the country, make sure that where we have arable lands, we turn them around and provide food, employment, and then that will be used to supply the industry so that at the end of the day, one district, one dam will have meaning, one district, one whatever money that is given to them will become a reality. And at the end of the day, our people will get jobs and make livelihoods. If you look at the fact that we abandon agriculture, that is the basis of our problems. Yes, so I'll urge this new government that to start with, let us see what should be done at Pualugu Dam. That is the first thing that the government has to do. Make sure that they bring the dam to fruition and then use it for the agriculture purposes which they plan for. And of course, it dovetails into the problem that we have anytime we spill water from Akosombo. So I will concentrate on, build a Pualugu, irrigate the areas in the north, create more agriculture fields, put people who are unemployed on there. You can even send a lot of national service people there, and let us start the agri revolution. That we can begin to have food for ourselves. We can stop importing food from desert areas such as Burkina Faso, and then we can add value to them and then sell them around and outside this jurisdiction. And at the end of the day, we'll make a living. Let's begin the agricultural revolution now.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, I'm happy to hear anytime someone talks about, improving agric, because like I always say, data doesn't lie. Agric has the potential to create the billionaires we're looking for, to reduce unemployment, greatly. But sometimes you don't know how managers of this economy always play lip service with the agric sector. Everybody comes in, says big things. They try to do one or two things, but the critical things that must be done are not being done. But I hope that now that all of us are getting that awakening, it will change how managers of the economy, do look at agric. Because if you're fighting something that is of a national security issue, which is unemployment, and there's a sector that can easily do it for you, then I guess you have to put more investment there and get it done. And that's agriculture. If we are serious with it, green gold, we call it. You can easily, change the face of this economy. Well, I have the Daily Graphic newspaper, I have the Custodian, and I have the News Center. What do you have?
The Ghanaian Times newspaper, the Ghanaian Publisher, and I think, the Accra Times.
Okay.
Should we start from the Ghanaian Times?
Yeah.
Yes. So on the front page, declare assets by March 31st or face sanctions. President gives ultimatum to appointees. We also have on that cholera outbreak, 719 cases confirmed, 49 deaths recorded. And President opens National Education Forum in Ho, apologizes to GCBC and CC, that is the Catholic bishops, and for delayed invitation. And Interior Minister commends police for high standard of professionalism. Let's get into the stories. Doc, I know that you've already said some things about how we declare assets in our efforts to curb corruption, how you just list things and put it in an envelope and submit it until something really comes up. But this is the president saying now that declare your assets by March 31st or face sanctions. Let me get a bit of the story out and then I'll come to you. President John Dramani Mahama has given his appointees up to the end of March this year to declare their assets or face sanctions. And he said he took assets declaration seriously and expects full compliance from his appointees and those who are enjoined by the 1992 Constitution. I believe that's Article 286 of the 1992 Constitution. Quote, I have asked the Chief of Staff to send word to all my appointees to ensure that they declare their asset by the end of the first quarter of this year or face sanctions. Doc? Your thoughts on this?
You know my position on this.
Yeah.
That the law as it exists today is not fit for purpose. And I am happy that the state is doing something to change it so that we'll have a meaningful asset declaration policy that will stand the test of time. And I support the call by the president that all his appointees, he has given them the deadline to declare their asset. It's in that right direction. But we have to move beyond this, that after declaring asset, we want to prevent conflict of interest and all that. Let us ensure that all those additions will be done and done well. And the end of the day, we'll be able to use this thing to monitor the process and to take our hands off corruption so that we can have a certain space to operate with. Remember, corruption takes a lot of money from our purse. And we need to save this country by making sure that there is openness, there is transparency. And when we get this, we'll be able to fight corruption.
Thank you, Doc. President Mahama opens National Education Forum in Ho. Yesterday, we all followed that and apologizes to the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference and Christian Council of Ghana for delayed invitation. And before he delved into his address, President Mahama expressed a sincere apology on behalf of the Planning Committee of the National Education Forum to stakeholders of faith-based organizations for the unpardonable omission committed by way of delaying their invitation to the forum. I thought the whole purpose of setting up a committee to spearhead this forum, this conference, was so that omissions like this would not be made. But well, the president has apologized and went on to say that he will take the recommendations or whatever they come out with very seriously, and we'll set timelines for us to do that. Let me add 2 more stories, Doc, and I'll come to you in a bit. Interior Minister commends police for high standard of professionalism. Man allegedly swindles businessman of 170,000 Ghana cedis. Mechanic fined for 6,000 for stealing. On the international front, Congo army retreat from Bukavu leads to clashes with allied militia. And when the teacher exhibits professional values and attitudes, this is an editorial. And Ashanti Northeast Regions elect Council of State Reps. Finally, we've concluded on that. Amend DACF Act to enable administrator report directly to minister. Halt dismissal of nurses, teachers now. Let me get into this story. So the minority leader in Parliament, Alexander Penyo-Markin, has called on the government to halt any plans to dismiss nurses, stressing that the country needs more healthcare professionals to tackle the ongoing cholera and meningitis outbreak. And he was reacting to a statement from the Minister of Health, Kwabena Mintakando, in Parliament on the current state of cholera and meningitis. Quote, "This is not the time to sack nurses. Government must ensure no healthcare professional loses their job. Rather, expedited steps should be taken to employ all backlog of healthcare professionals to tackle the outbreak," he stressed. Doc.
Yes, I will start with the national education policy.
Yes.
It is a good call, and it's in the right direction. I support that. But I want the committee, which I trust, that they will be able to do the needful by looking at the weaknesses we have currently with the educational system and see what input they can make into that, so as to make it robust and stand the test of time. We want education that will really give our people hope, will give our people the opportunity to rub shoulders with those in other parts of the world, and education that is fit for purpose. We want the part of the program to look at the implementation. For instance, you are producing, you are churning out a number of people every year. What is it that they have to do when they finish school? That must also occupy the attention. And above all, we need the teaching materials. We've seen time and again where we put students in class and then they have no textbooks. They'll move to another level before textbook arrive. Those things should be a thing of the past. And I know this committee is handled by able hands. They will right the wrongs. Let's look at...
Doc, let me stay on that for a bit. I mean, I know that the Christian Council and Catholic bishops, they've been contributing to trying to, reforming education. They've actually been involved. But is it really a bad thing that they were omitted from this forum? Like, what was so terribly wrong with that?
I think let's consider it as an omission.
Okay.
And that going forward, that will not happen. Sometimes some of these things are not deliberate, but once in a while it crops up. But the good news is that they are in, because you need all the stakeholders. And remember, education started by this religious groups, particularly the Christians who introduced education in this country. So they have a stake. And remember, all the big schools you have, they founded them. The school in my hometown, Presbyterian Training College, established 1848, and the rest of them. And they are passionate when you are, so you cannot but include them at all times. So we need that. And then we need to strengthen vocational aspect of education, so that we give people certain skills that they can help to make a living. It is important. I want to move on to the issue of cholera. Once you talk about cholera, doctors will tell you you have a very filthy environment. And yes, when you keep them clean, you are safe. We recall the promise we had with our previous government that Accra will be the cleanest city in Africa. It became a mirage. Going forward, I'm sure this government will right the wrong and make sure that our environment are kept clean. And I will tax the local government minister. I will urge him on. I will not tax him. I don't have the power. I will urge him to strengthen the inspectorate division so that they can make sure that we get the basics right, so as to save ourselves about these cholera problems and all that. These are something we can deal with it shouldn't be a problem with it. And once we keep our environment clean, we are good to go. Issue of nurses, don't sack nurses. I support that call. Whatever it takes for government to maintain them, government should find a way out. But you see, this country, we are short of, or we are bereft of ideas. Why am I saying this? Because, look, when I was a little boy, there were people that were coming to work from other countries in this country, especially Indians and then I think the Cubans. People export them here and they come and work, take resources and they go back. Why can't we do the same? That we should have a proper arrangement so that when people finish school in various fields of what? Academic endeavors, and then you put them into what good use by exporting some, maintaining some. At the end of the day, the money we have spent in developing them will recoup and plow back to society and build it. And we are short, we have very short ideas in this regard. I tell government, I urge this government that ideas are bound. They should take advantage and make sure that we improve our lots and then get more nurses into the system. Let them also what? Be able to work. If there is no space here, create opportunity for them to work elsewhere, and that they will come and then build our society. Remember, what is going on in America is now should serve as a warning for all of us. Once it succeeds, I've said it and I'll repeat, Europeans may follow, and the time you realize nobody will be interested in anybody coming there to his or her country to make a living. Let's make our home better. There is no other place than our home. And then I think if there's some, let me also look at I think we've said everything. Yes. High standards, police and high standards. Yes, I support that program, a good one, but I will always urge the police to look at the U.S. State Human Rights Report. It has gory tales of human rights violations apportioned to the police in this country. And I want the state to take measures to deal with this. And I charge the new Interior Minister and charge the IGP that they should also look at that report. I know over the years they try to improve it, but there's a lot more to be done. If you look at that report, some of the issues that are found in that report keep recurring. It tells us that we are not doing good in that regard. And that report is part of the governance barometer that we use to gauge whatever a government policy is, and that it is part of the indicators of what good governance. So they should check it.
All right, Doc. Just one story on the back page says NPA to deploy automated dispensers to implement 24-hour economy, and that is coming from the chief executive of the NPA, Mr. Godwin Kujo Tamaklo. And he said the initial phase might include the deployment of automated dispensers at selected petroleum retail outlets, as well as the implementation of measures to ensure the continuous operation of bulk storage facilities and depots, among other initiatives. And now, lastly, government will complete abandoned housing projects nationwide, says the minister. Well, that's it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper. And before, Doc, I give you a bite on this, let me usher in Dr. Jibril Mohammed. He just joins us also via Zoom. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Doc, good morning to you. Dr. Mohammed, kindly unmute for us.
Good morning to you and good morning to all your listeners.
Okay, good.
Thank you. This morning, I have small burning issues in my mind. One of them has to do with the traffic light situation in Ghana, especially the night, the street lighting is really very, very, very bad. Almost every part of the country, especially in Accra here, if you are driving in the night, it's really terrible. I mean, everywhere is dark. The Accra Regional Minister promised that she was going to fix it within 30 days of her ushering into office. I entreat her to work on it assiduously so that we can have the place lit up, because it's really dangerous for us when we are driving. Another issue has to do with the DD program. The government has issued close to 20 billion Ghana cedis to pay people that the former government owned in terms of the debt exchange program, and also to set up a sinking fund of about 9.7 billion Ghana cedis. I believe that this is a step in the right direction, and I hope that it's going to continue that way and things can get better for us as a country.
Thank you for those quick thoughts. Let's continue with the papers now, could you? Doc,
yeah,
on the
exactly.
stories from the NPA and then government completing abandoned projects, do you want to reflect on that, Doc? Dr. Mohammed? Yeah.
The issue of the NPA, I think, is a step in the right direction, but are we putting in the necessary security measures in place? This is very important because if you don't have the security architecture in place, then you are asking filling stations, you are asking, what do you call it, the downstream to be able to load in the night. It's going to be really very, very difficult, especially what I just spoke about. If you don't have a proper lighting system in the country, how do you ensure proper security? When people are being attacked, how will you know that these people are being attacked? We have to be in a better position to install all cameras across the length and stretch of this country. And you can only do that when they are light up. You can only do that when you have the security services in place. So we have to work very hard, improve our security system, and get this thing running. So if you're able to do that, I believe that we can start the 24-hour economy in earnest, and that can help to put the country in a better position.
Okay.
No, but I mean, I'm trying to reconcile the automation with the purpose for the 24-hour economy. We said 1 job, 3 shifts. So how do we then, try to make sense of automation when the same thing can be done by 3 human beings running shifts?
Well, people still have to operate that. But it just means that we are going to reduce the number of people who are going to be working. They say 311. It means that one job for 3 people at the same time, as you said. But I believe that even with the automation, you still need to have some people monitoring the system. So you can have, maybe if it's going to be 3 people, you may end up having 1 or 2. Then that can still work. Because if it was just to be one system and you are still automating, it means that you don't need anybody to monitor it. But in this case, you still need someone to monitor, even though it is automated. There will still be someone on duty. If there are problems, the person can come on board to fix the problem.
Okay. All right. I don't know if Dr. Asante would want to have a bite on that particular one. The MPA says they will deploy automated dispensers under the 24-hour economy initiative.
I think strategies are different. You can combine human beings with machines to be able to get the effect that you want, and then expand your frontiers. Yeah, there are places that you may have the high incidence of machines working as against human beings, but it doesn't take away the fact that there are other sectors of the economy where you can also have you can stretch your hand and get all the 3 shadows run perfectly. A blend of the 2 in a manner that will not disadvantage people, and the resources that we have should be the way to go.
Okay, now let's do the daily graphic. And it says, at the National Education Forum launch, President outlines areas for reforms. President Mahama declares assets. That's on page 13 of the daily graphic. OSP removes former finance minister from wanted list. Page 20 has that story. Council of State takes office. Doa Jaho is chairman. That's on page 11. Honoring coupons good for investor confidence, according to an economist, page 13. Now, I'm sure we've dealt with the National Education Forum, so let's move on to the OSP and the Council of State, possibly. Now, if you read the OSP story, it talks about the fact that the Special Prosecutor, Kissie Jabeng, has removed the former Finance Minister, Kenneth Narayao Oforiatta, from its list of wanted persons. The Special Prosecutor explained that the former Finance Minister had, through his lawyers, stated a definite date of his voluntary return to the jurisdiction. As a result, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has acceded to Mr. Oforiatta's request. A statement signed by the Special Prosecutor has reviewed. The OSP said it deemed as reasonable in the circumstance Mr. Oforiatta's stated date of voluntary return to the jurisdiction. Dr. Asante, I mean, what do you make of this? It was just last week or so that he was declared as wanted. This week we are being told that, well, he's now given a definite date that he'll return, and so he's been wanted, or he's been taken off the wanted list. Many people have reacted differently to this. How do you react to this news of him being removed from the wanted list?
My reaction is that if there's something we can do and do better, let's do it from the word go than to wait. If the lawyers could come out with a certain date, a fixed date, there wouldn't be this noise about that. And of course, the lawyers take instructions from what their client, Ms. Ofurata. So if they had communicated with us that there is going to be a definite date for that matter, we should expect what Ms. Ofurata back in the country. That would have saved everybody and the image of Ms. Ofurata and all that. So I am happy that they found that way, because communicating to us and saying that he is out of this country and we don't know when he will return, that is, he will return indefinitely, it created all manner of problems. And I'm sure it was based on that the OSP also issued that statement to the public. But the good news is that the two parties have found a common ground, and the common ground is that there's a fixed date for which Mr. Ofurata will return to the country and then come and face the OSP. Let us remember that in our constitution, the preamble says that there are things we wish for ourselves, and one of it is that when we hold public office, we must make ourselves answerable for our actions and inactions. And so I know that matters of this nature is a matter of time, and that I am happy that Ms. Ofurata is coming back to answer all the necessary questions, and then we are good to go. I will look at the projects that have been abandoned.
But I'll let you move on there. But really, with all his investment in this country, was he really a person who was not willing to return to the jurisdiction that wanted to declare him, wanted by any means?
I will not follow that argument.
Okay.
That he was not prepared to come to this country. I don't subscribe to that. I always want to give any accused person the benefit of the doubt that you would have done the right thing. But I'm saying that the communication was, in my view, that triggered that type of noise, and that the position of the OSP that he will return, but we don't know when. That becomes a problem. But now that that hurdle is, cleared, I am sure that being very, a citizen of this country and a well-meaning one, of course, you would do the needful. So I have no doubt in my mind that Mr. Ofurata will come. But the communication that was, churned out to the OSP, I'm sure that created a problem.
Doc,
but
in fact,
fast forward,
talking about communication, looks like some argument ensued in Parliament over Afenyo Makin being the one to tell Parliament about the return of Ken Ofurata in May. And Majority Leader was saying that that was not the appropriate channel for him to, give them that information. So if anything, you should have gone straight to the OSP to tell them that Ken Ofurata intends to return to the country in May. How did that sit with you?
Yeah, that position, I also support that position, that you are dealing with what lawyers are dealing with on behalf of their client. So the person to receive that information obviously should be the OSP. We, the public, will come in after we have heard that message have gone to the OSP. But if it is announced in public, in Parliament, is it the case that it's Parliament, part of Parliament, which is acting on behalf of Mr. Ofurata? That is no. I'm not a lawyer, but at least I understand logic and critical thinking. So I believe that is no.
Okay.
Yes, the lawyers should be able to do that, and do that with appropriate authorities.
Right.
Let us look at the projects that have been abandoned over the years, which you'll talk about. Article 35(7) gives every government the opportunity to continue projects of their predecessors. And time and again, we've seen a lot of projects that we have spent hard-earned money to build, being idle in the bush. It's not good. And recently, you and I heard stories about where thieves have had field day in some of the areas, going there to loot and all that. It's not good news. People have done research on all those abandoned projects. And I tell you, if you put them together, you realize that it's a lot of money we are losing. We need to ensure that resources are used properly, because they are scarce to come by. So once we get them, let us use them wisely. There is not always going to be the opportunity for us to go to IMF and World Bank. If we begin to disabuse our minds from this, the little that we have here, we can protect and safeguard them for the betterment of our society. And then my last issue will be on the Council of State. My position is clear on that. I respect the quality of people who are in there. And then I want this country to take the conversation a notch further by looking at the fact that let us put this thing into a second chamber, because whether we like it or not, we support them in terms of finances and all that. And I tell you, there's a quality of people that we need them to sit at second chamber so that their decision will not be based on advice, but it will become what laws of this country that will be what implemented. I believe that going forward, that should be the conversation. Because the people in there, I expect that we should have a body like that as a second chamber. And I tell you, we can do wonders with that.
Dr. Mohammed, your take now.
The issue of the OSP and Kenu Barata agreeing that he's going to return to the country is just about an issue of information flow. If we had communicated right from the beginning, I don't think that we would have had the challenges that we are having. So Ken Okurata and the OSP should have agreed with each other right from onset that I'm going to return. And so the Hulova law that it created actually put the country into a bad mood, because it sends a bad segment to the investing community that this is likely to happen to anybody, especially those who take in charge of our finances. So it's not really good to have that kind of situation. But I'm happy that he has agreed to return back to face justice, because justice is very important. If you once own the public purse, you should make yourself available for accountability. Accountability is very important to anybody who holds public office. The Constitution says that, and you cannot run away from accountability. So I'm particularly happy that Ken Oforata has agreed that he will come back to the jurisdiction to answer questions. In any way, they could have tried him in absentia. Maybe they could have decided to do a Zoom meeting or something of that sort to be able to question him so that he will make himself available. But if they still want him face to face, they should be back to the country to do so. On the issue of abandoned projects, we are crying that the U.S. has withdrawn about $156 million as a form of aid to us. The abandoned projects that if you accumulate everything and look at the cost element or the financial aspect of it, you agree with me that it is not small resources that has been put onto the ground. So we have to ensure that we continue most of these projects and complete them. Whichever government takes over from a previous government, they have to do an audit of all the abandoned projects and see how much is needed to be able to put those projects into a good use. Because we cannot leave them that way. If you continue to do that, then we are wasting our resources. We need to judiciously utilize our meager resources that we have. And I believe that the current government should put in measures, should instruct the chief of staff to ensure that they audit all abandoned projects, right from the time of the former John Mahama till now. Any project that is not completed, Agenda 111, the E-blocks, etc., the roads, all of that, they should audit everything in the country. If they are able to audit it, they will know that this is the stock of projects that we have that are uncompleted. And this is how much we need to be able to complete it so that we can take it from there. We don't need to go and start new projects when old ones are halfway or about 60% or about 70% complete.
Right.
After all, it's for Ghanaians. So let's ensure that we put that into a better use. And for the Council of State, I support the argument that it should be made as a second chamber so that we can come out with laws. Even if the laws that they are coming out with are just customary laws, it should be customary laws so that they can help us to regulate the way and manner in which we do things in this country. I truly support that kind of argument.
All right, thank you.
Just before we move away from the daily graphic, I want us to go international. Russia, U.S. agreed to end Ukraine war. Russia and the U.S. have agreed on Tuesday to start working towards ending the war in Ukraine and improving their diplomatic and economic ties. The two countries' top diplomats said after talks that reflected an extraordinary about phase in U.S. foreign policy under President Donald Trump. We've all spoken about the impact this war has had on the entire world. And it should be good news that it's coming at a time when the Donald Trump is in power. He and Vladimir Putin are saying that, well, we need to end this. What are expectations?
It's a very difficult situation, even though it may seem as what good news. Because you see, all the stakeholders must be involved. America is just one of the members of NATO. So if a decision of that nature is being taken, why are you ignoring Europe and then Ukraine in that important decision? That is where I find it a bit problematic, because if you want a solution that will last the time, then I believe that all the stakeholders must be in, particularly so when you are talking about what Russian-Ukraine crisis. You need Ukraine in, and you need the European representatives also in. But America alone creates all manner of problems, because now if you look at what America is pursuing now, they are coming back to the isolationism policy, staying away of all world programs, world events, and all that. And I'm not sure it bodes well for NATO and all that. And that's why some of the NATO members are saying that they should have a military bloc all over, a new one to that of NATO and the rest of them. It's going to be a complex matter, but I think the players of the game, they know what to do. Okay. And Europe, I'm not sure they will sit down aloof and then allow America only to be at the forefront. They are allies, but they believe that they also have a say in the ongoing tussle between Russia.
But mustn't they even support efforts to end this war? We've all seen how this war has beaten all of us in terms of the world economy. So if someone says we want to end it, it's in the interest of Europe to even support.
I'm not sure the European position is that they want the war prolonged, because resources are, thrown out there, and it's a lot, and it's affecting them. But hey, they have no choice. They all want to end the war. But I'm saying that get all the stakeholders in, so that the decision that you take, everybody would rally around it, and you support and defend it at all times. That is all there is to it. Okay. But I'm not sure anybody is interested that the war should not end. To what end? No. All of them are interested that they should come to a conclusion. They should come to the end of the war. But who are those who must be present for this decision to be taken is the critical question.
Okay. All right. Yeah, let's move away from that.
Let's do the Ghanaian publisher now. And there's an interesting story here. Yesterday, I saw that 6-page statement from 2 NSA directors denying allegations on ghost names that was published by the Fourth Estate. Let's get into that. It says 2 former NSA directors deny allegations on ghost names. But let me finish the stories on the front page. GES sacks new teachers. And that is in, compliance with that directive that if you were employed or recruited after December 7th, you should be, that appointment has been revoked. They've done that because those who have not yet been enrolled onto the payroll system their appointments have been revoked. CDM slams government energy sector management, warns of doomsday. Ken Ofo-Yatta returns in May. OSP removes him from wanted list. New media boss Alex would begin work. But let me get into the story of these 2 directors denying the allegations leveled against them by the Fourth Estate. And they're saying that the publication alleged a significant discrepancy between the number of personnel submitted to Parliament for budgetary purposes and those publicly available. In fact, the argument is that during their tenure, they were committed to strengthening enrollment and verification. Therefore, they're encouraging, they're welcoming the President Mahama's directive for a thorough investigation into the matter. And they are sure that a thorough probe will expose the inaccuracies in the allegations and the revelations made by the Fourth Estate. In fact, they are saying that the Fourth Estate simply tried to cast aspersions on their persons. Doc, have you been following this story?
Yes.
What did you make of it?
I am still wondering why we continue to have ghosts existing in our books. Because if you follow the story of government fighting ghosts, it didn't start today. I know Messiah Safumafu, you can credit him. He spent all his life removing names of ghosts from our system when he was the finance minister. Today, we still talk about ghosts. It tells us that there is something wrong in our system. Institutions have broken down beyond repairs to the extent that you have what goes in. It means that they've infiltrated into our ranks. Because if institutions are working and they are doing the needful, and by institution, I'm talking about the rules, the regulations, the procedures, the norms. If they are working well, you can't slip through the fingers of anybody. Even if you are going to have such a problem, the magnitude will be too little. But now we seem to have one more. It tells us that all is not well. We should be able to have a system that will be robust and deal with this problem head on. I was happy when Dr. Bawumia championed the cause of digitization. Yeah, the way out to this problem is what? Digitization. But we need to tighten all the noose and make sure that it works and work well. Because if we, in spite of all the noise we make about digitization and we still have ghosts in the system, then that system that we have as what? A digitized system is in itself a good system. We shouldn't have a system like that.
All right.
And I know that what the MPP put in place is good. Let us strengthen it and let it work better.
Dr. Mohammed, get a bite of this. Have you been following the story? He said, she said, for the states versus Osei Asibe Entry and Mustafa Yusuf.
I do follow the story. I have seen what is happening in the system. I have read through and I have gone through it. I have realized that cumulatively, over the years, we have had a lot of people put into the system. I just noticed that Dr. Asha Ashanti spoke about digitization of the economy. I believe that, yes, NSS is digitized. Before any of even your NSS people take their money, you have to sign for them before they go and take it. And I'm just wondering how come that we are able to put in over 100,000, let's say 81,000 names in 2022 for 2025 NSS year. That is too alarming. And this is costing the state a lot of money. The fourth estate says that it costs the state about 2.2 billion Ghana cedis annually. So just calculate that over a period of 7 or 6 years. And imagine how much money is lost to the state, over billions of Ghana cedis. So what do we have to do to be in a better position to be able to stop this nonsense? We need to put in the better institutions have to put in place. We have to ensure that we audit it. The trail of auditing is very important. What is a process by which people have to pass through before they take their money? That is very important. There should be a validation every single month. So before the 20th of every month, they have to validate it. Getting to the end of the month, they should validate it so that some of these unwanted names can be erased.
Right.
So we need to put in a better mechanism, checks and balances, so that we can solve the problem.
Okay. Just some quick headlines now. Jakpa's appointment triggers anxiety. We know that the appointment of Richard Jakpa, a dismissed former army officer, as the head of the Special Operations Unit at the National Security Secretariat by the Mahama government, has triggered huge anxiety among operatives within the service. That's what the paper is reporting, not what I'm saying. Mr. Richard Jakpa, who was released from the Ghana Armed Force over what was described as unsatisfactory and consistent fraudulent conduct, abrasiveness, and general indiscipline, has been appointed to head one of the most sensitive units of the Secretariat of National Security, the Special Operations Unit. And we saw that. In fact, he was seen in the video of those who raided the home of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Let me add one more story to it, because government shut down 7 radio stations, and the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations has directed the National Communications Authority to take immediate enforcement action against several broadcasting entities operating without valid frequency authorization. And that statement was issued yesterday, Sam George leading that charge over there. Dr. Kwame Asante, Richard Jakpa's appointment triggers anxiety, really? And government shut down 7 radio stations. Your reflections on that?
I will start with 7 radio stations.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to, since the liberalization of the airspace in, I think, 2005 thereabout, or 1995 thereabout, yes. We've had a lot of media springing up, and it has strengthened and expanded the frontiers of communication in this country. It's supporting the call for democratic entrenchment and all that. Good news. But you see, you cannot work without adhering to the rules of the game.
Right.
Democracy is anchored on rule of law. So you cannot set up a system that doesn't have the rules back in it. Then obviously it becomes a difficult system. So if there are wrongs, we need to use the rules to right them, and so that we don't go on arbitrary spree where we do things anyhow. So once they found them not in compliance with the rules of the game, obviously the system will strike them down. And I always believe that we must first and foremost pay attention to the rules of the game. You want to set up a radio station, just get the rules clear and get them work on your side. Once you do that, you are home and dry.
Right.
Japa's appointments and matters are rising. I must say that I've not been following much on Japa's issue. So in order not to, throw anything as a dust into the eyes of the public, let me leave that. And when I follow it, I'll come back and speak with authority.
Let me throw that to Dr. Mohammed. Given the reasons, we were given for his dismissal and that Rambo-style invasion of Ken Ofori-Atta's home, is there really cause for people to be worried or to cause anxiety? If you haven't done anything wrong, should you be worried? But what do you make of it?
I think that for a person of his caliber to be appointed, maybe the government knows why they are appointing him and what they want him to do to support the government. So I cannot really think through to tell you that his appointment is in a bad taste or is in a good taste. But I leave it in the hands of the government to be able to determine why they have appointed him and what he can do to help his country. Okay. I believe that everybody has something to contribute. So that is how come that he has appointed. On the issue of the NCA, you remember that Radio Gold and others were shut down because they were not following rules. So similar thing can be done to any radio station that does not follow a rule. If you cannot follow simple instruction, you have no place to be in public because you are going to be misinforming the public. So I believe that the right thing must be done as a country. If you begin to crack the whip on people who misbehave, this country, you are going to live in a better place. Remember that the country is for all of us. If you make it bad, you live in bad environment. If you make it good, you live in good environment. So I believe that what the Ministry of Communication has done is a step in the right direction to ensure that we sanitize the system and ensure that rule of law works for all of us.
Thank you so much. We should be winding down, but let me just give out the headlines in the Accra Times. Fighting meningitis in the Upper West region. Speaker Bagbin donates 300,000 Ghana cedis medical supplies. Mahama excites bondholders, no more picketing, no more debts, as he pays over 6 billion Ghana cedis to domestic debt exchange program bondholders. Akando storms Upper West to assess meningitis situation. Evaluate Jiriwa NDC chairman is hot. Edem Agbana cries over unbearable rent situation in Ghana. Did he cry? NPA boss in action as he hits ground running towards fuel installations. Anglo State salutes Mahama on appointment of Johnson Esiama as Bank of Ghana governor. And lastly, allows senior high school students to use mobile phones. Any headlines from you?
From the news center, it says ex-NSA officials reject Ghost Names accusation. NIA received 700,000 blank cards to clear backlog pending since 2023. Bond coupons, MPP government invested over 31 billion Ghana cedis. That's according to Dr. Amma. And education reform is a collective responsibility, according to John Dramani Mahama, and MPA to deploy automated dispensers to implement 24-hour economy. Yeah.
Well, that's our time. In 30 seconds, Doc, I'll take your final words each. Let me start with Dr. Mohammed. Okay.
I'll take the bondholders issue. It's good news because what we saw some months ago was nothing but ugly spectacle of bad governance. We don't want to see a repeat of that. That people have served this country and then they've made money and then they said, well, government, make use of it to run the affairs of it. And whilst you do that, we get something for upkeep and you subject them to haircut and then they have to go to picketing and all that.
All right.
That was a sorry story. And I believe that this should be the way, so that if we have nothing for our retirees, let us respect what they put into the system and then let them enjoy their investment. That is all.
Doug. We have to go, Doc. We don't have enough time for more. Dr. Mohammed, in about 20 seconds, please.
Well, thank you so much. Back to the bond issue. That is a sanity in the system, a sanity in the financial market. So I support that. I believe that the government is now in a free flow to go. So the government can go now in free flow. Everybody is happy about it. Thank you.
Dr. Kwame Asante is Head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Dr. Mohammed Jibril, Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. They helped us review the newspapers. Stay. Muftan Nabil Abdullah serves you AM Sports.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftahu Nabila Abdullah. Kumasi Asante Kotoko, they have released a statement saying that they are not willing to return to the playing field for any competitive football under the umbrella of the Ghana Football Association, despite a meeting with the Ghana Football Association, which happened on Monday. The Porcupine Warriors, in a statement, also revealed that the first team of the club will resume training effective today. However, they are not reneging on their initial position that says that the club is not going to compete under any match organized by the Ghana Football Association. So this is a statement on your screen. It says that after a careful consideration and consultations with our medical department, the club has been advised that our senior team should resume training from tomorrow to ensure the physical and mental well-being of our players. And that tomorrow is referring to today because the statement was released last night. We, however, take this opportunity to plead with the Attorney General's Department to intensify their efforts to ensure that this case is pursued with the urgency and seriousness it deserves. Justice delayed is justice denied, and we will not relent on our fight to ensure that justice prevails in relation to the murder of his fan, Nana Pole, who is known as Nana Yao Frimpong. So this is a statement from Kumasi Asante Kotoko, which was released on Tuesday evening. And they said that despite the consultations, they are not willing to return to the field. We also want to make it abundantly clear that this decision to resume training does not in any way alter our stance regarding footballing activities. Our position remains unchanged. We will not compete in any official matches until meaningful and decisive actions are taken to secure justice and protect the future of our game. This is a statement from Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Kotoko and Hasselfolk had come together to put up 9 proposals which were submitted to the Ghana Football Association for considerations. And one of them is enhancing match day security. And the GFA, they have already started training match commissioners and other officials who are responsible for supervising matches at various league venues. Let's go to Elmina, where just 1 week after the demise of Nana Pole, hooliganism showed its ugly head in a game involving All Blacks and Elmina Sharks. Well, an official of Elmina Sharks, he has been charged by the Ghana Football Association. In fact, the owner of the club, Papa Kwesi Indu, he's been charged by the GFA for allegedly inciting players to assault matchday referee Morrison. He's been asked by the Ghana Football Association to respond to the charges by Thursday, else actions could be taken against him for the comments he passed on social media and also on television on the day of the incident. Now let's hear from former Black Stars captain Stephen Appiah. He's been speaking about leadership of the senior national team. According to him, it is important that captains respect team members because the armband is for only 90 minutes.
Be the captain of the Black Stars and leading, I call them friends, people that you play goals with, people that they are equally good as you. you think that it's easy to manage them or to handle them? No, you have like who is a shark. You have a tram in the rest. It's not. But being a leader, at times, certain decisions will be unpopular, but you still have to step on it and take it. That makes the difference. You don't have to disrespect people. In fact, you have to be nice to them, so you being the leader, they will work for you. And that's what Stephen Appiah did. Stephen Appiah. That's what I did. And also, being a leader, you have to do certain things that you don't want your colleagues to do. I don't run out from camp. I don't do certain things in camp. So you looking at me being the captain is a signal to you without talking. Yeah, if Stephen is not doing, why should we do? Not to me yet. But I was also lucky to play with players who have the same goal as me. They wanted to play, they wanted to achieve something, we wanted to win trophies, we wanted to go to the World Cup.
Former captain of the Black Stars, Stephen Appiah, speaking there during a seminar in Shenyang. Let's do some karate-do now. The Japan Karate-do Association of Ghana organized a 2-day training session for karate-dos and other officials. Well, my colleague Abdul Karim Benin was there and has details in this report.
The training, known as JKA Ghana Gashuku, took place at the Dubois Center in Accra on Saturday and Sunday. The event aimed to bring together karate practitioners from across Africa and beyond for 2 days of intensive training, knowledge sharing, and camaraderie. The camp refined skills, deepened understanding, and inspired the growth of martial arts in Ghana as the new season approaches. The Karate Technical Director for Sub-Saharan Africa, Daniel Gombe Sensei, led the training for over 100 participants.
So my idea is that they continue to focus on generating power so that they can compete at a world-class level. Most of the world championships that we have, the Shoto Cup happens every 3 years in Japan, and then after that, after the 3 years, it goes out of Japan, and then back to Japan, and then out of Japan. My idea is to bring that Shoto Cup to Africa.
Dixon Akolachi, an organizer of the event, stated that the training aimed to empower participants to transfer their knowledge to members of their respective clubs.
Yeah, so basically the people you see here, most of them, especially the seniors or the black belts, are instructors in their various clubs. So this would augment their way of teaching their juniors in their various clubs nationwide.
Some participants and instructors also shared their thoughts about the workshop.
Okay, so the drills I've been doing karate for 2 years now, and the drills are to correct some of the things that we do that is not right. So at every level that you go, there are things that are corrected. So this gashuku was done so that all the little things that we are affecting our movement and posture are corrected so that we are able to use the techniques right.
Okay, so today's program is a program that I think that every karateka should have been here. Reasons being, we're dealing with the basics. So this morning we dealt with body movement, body alignment, and understanding how you're able to use your body to generate effective results, for that matter. Whether you're doing sports karate or you're doing traditional karate, whichever way you're looking at it, the forms are supposed to be done in a particular way to generate a particular kind of result.
Actually, as we've learned this, we've tried to also impart it to our instructor that couldn't come, at the same time to those who are brown belts and juniors who want to get into competitions and co.
Each participant was awarded a certificate of participation.
the big story segment on the AM show. Now, President John Dramani Mahama has assured stakeholders that recommendations from the ongoing National Education Forum will be effectively utilized to drive meaningful reforms in the education sector and reiterates government's commitment to prioritizing education by implementing comprehensive reforms to enhance the sector. This morning, we'll engage stakeholders as we enter day 2 of the National Education Forum. But first, let's bring you back that report from Emmanuel Jivenu on the deplorable state in which some students, some children are learning and studying.
For pupils of Sambonjida DA Basic School, having a teacher is a privilege.
This my here.
2 trained teachers shoulder the responsibility of educating pupils from kindergarten to basic 6. Volunteers like Thomas, a senior high school graduate, step in to assist, but the results are troubling.
So I'm coming here to teaching ABCD to describe yourself to the 1, 2, 3, 2. So that's why that I'm coming to be teaching for my children. A, B, C. Oh, sorry. Let me check. A, B, C, D.
Thomas tries his best, but his grasp of the English language and teaching methodology raises concerns.
K, M.
In one instance, the alphabet L was missing from the blackboard. Worse still, pupils are thought to pronounce M and N the same way, and these children repeat these errors with confidence.
H, I, J, K, N. N.
This is heartbreaking. These children are set up to fail before they even begin. I could not stand by and watch the blunder persist, so I intervened.
There's an alphabet missing. What's it?
H, I, J, K, N.
L. So where's L? L is not there. So write the L there. Write the L. Okay, so this is how to write the L. L is written this way.
The situation grows grimmer.
Yeah, you get it.
I get it.
The school has only 3 classrooms, forcing 2 different classes to share a single space. Teachers struggle to maintain focus and discipline while handling multiple levels at once.
We are a lot of teachers. The whole school from KG1 to P6, we are only 2 teachers. Imagine, if you compare with me, the KG2 to P6, 2 teachers taking from KG2 to P6 is a burden to the teachers. We have KG1 to P6. And when you look at the structure, standing there, is 2 classes in 1, which is very difficult for a teacher to be inside 1 class with 2 classes combined, teaching.
For pupils in kindergarten, their classroom is nothing more than a fenced area with blocks intended for construction now serving as furniture. These blocks were donated 5 years ago during the height of campaigning, but they were never used as promised.
The little furniture there, they all like to sit on it. It will be a problem. They'll be there fighting, beating each other. Then if I didn't go there and arrange the blocks, I will arrange the blocks for them to those who didn't get a sitting place to sit down. Then I put some blocks inside the classroom for them to sit down. Then have a learning successfully. Okay. The campaign time, the last election campaign time, that he came and molded the blocks there that he wanted to build a classroom for the community or for the school. Then after winning, he didn't come back again. So it's the MP who molded the blocks down and it's still lying down. I decided with my staff that now, I even called the PTA meeting, then we talk. I informed the office, the CISO. Then they said, in case the blocks are lying down, spoiling, and they are not doing anything, we can use it to what? To make a runner pit. Or as we are saying, the KG is not having a sitting place, we can use it to fence around so that they can be sitting inside. So we use some of the blocks to fence the KG that will make the hut for them to be inside.
The lack of support does not end there. The school is not part of the school feeding program, forcing pupils to walk home for meals. Many do not return, further disrupting the education.
Our school feeding, we have written a letter. I've come to the head teacher. We have written a letter a lot to the district director, but no help, no voice coming out for us to help.
The community is trying to keep the school afloat. Parents pay volunteers like Thomas in kind, working on their farm as laborers.
They said they will sit down and decide either they will do contribution, they will contribute and pay them, or they will be helping them in their farms, the volunteers.
Some of our children who are far away and they have completed, they are here, and we beg them so that when they help the head teacher to teach for some periods, then we, the parents, we help them in our farm so that we go and clear some land, we just raise some young men. This is what we used to help those who volunteer to help us.
The head teacher and community leaders are calling on the government to act. They want more teachers, adequate classrooms, and inclusion in the school feeding program.
A teacher is to teach somebody to also become somebody in future. Yes. So if I'm here to teach the children to become somebody more than me in future, and there's no place for me or for the children to learn and also become somebody in future, then how will I be happy? So that made me sad whenever I come here to teach.
Our people in Sabungira are crying. Whatever is here, we are looking for the government to come to our aid so that they will help us, so that our children will also get shade and sit and remove from the sitting under the tree, sitting under the shade, so that it will motivate some of our children so that they will also learn and go and be somebody in future. We are crying, government, come and into our aid.
Be fair to us. I say again, be fair to us.
Be fair to us, Sabungira people. Be fair to us, government. Be fair to us.
Basic education is the foundation of every child's future. But in Sambonjida, that foundation is crumbling. For these children, the dream of a brighter tomorrow seems distant. It is a call to action for policymakers to prioritize schools like this before it's too late.
Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy News, Tatale Sangoli, Northern Region.
This my hand.
Now, the focus of this conversation, like I mentioned earlier, is the National Education Forum, which is an initiative launched yesterday by President John Dramani Mahama to address key issues within Ghana's education sector on the theme, Transforming Education for a Sustainable Future. Let's take a look or take a listen to some of the things that President John Dramani Mahama said while opening the forum yesterday.
We recognize that the education system we inherited has not kept pace with the needs of 21st century society and the fourth industrial revolution. As the world evolves, so must our education system, because what worked in the past no longer suffices for the challenges and opportunities of today and tomorrow. It is this realization that has brought us together here today, united in our belief that education reform is just not an option, but a necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Consultative Forum on Education is a platform to bring all stakeholders to the table: governments, policymakers, teachers, students, parents, traditional leaders, religious leaders, political party representatives, development partners, and all members of civil society. We are here because we recognize that the task of reimagining Ghana's education system is not one that any single entity can do alone. Education reform is a shared responsibility. It is a collective journey that requires all voices, all perspectives, and all hands on deck. This consultative process, I believe, will bring out the best solutions born out of dialogue, partnership, and mutual understanding to deal with our current and future challenges. Our goal today is to engage in an honest and productive discussion about the current state of education in Ghana, to diagnose the challenges and craft a bold and actionable roadmap for reform. As a government, we are fully committed to this process, and the outcomes of this conference, I assure you that your recommendations are not going to gather dust on a shelf. They will not become symbolic recommendations, but they will form the foundation of a comprehensive reform agenda to build an inclusive, equitable, and transformative education system for Ghana and for the benefit of all Ghanaians. And so we'll prioritize the actionable reforms proposed here with clear timelines and measurable outcomes to guide our steps. Regular updates on progress will be shared with the public to build trust and transparency. We'll increase the allocation of resources to critical areas, including foundational learning, with a focus on the 4 literacies that I talked about: language, mathematics, science, and culture. Teacher education and capacity development would also receive attention. Infrastructure development and education technology also included. Deepen partnership with parents, traditional authority, and local communities. And I'm happy that the Honorable Education Minister has already announced that PTAs can engage with schools to ensure that the children, the schools are properly managed. And so PTAs can start to do their work by engaging with the schools so that we deepen management of the schools. So deepen partnerships with parents, traditional authorities, and local communities to support every child's learning journey through the practice of learning teams. To ensure that school leaders have the autonomy to perform their duties against a national school leader standard, that we shall work with stakeholders, including the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools and other teachers' union, to develop. To prioritize research and research evidence for decision-making. We'll also continue with the teacher transformation work we started in 2014 under the TTEL project, and ensure that the same transformation is carried out across all sectors of education system, including TVET.
So that's President John Dramani Mahama there yesterday when the National Education Forum was open. And I want, Kojo Brace and I are here to steer the conversations for you. Kojo, I just, something he said about because we are focused on free senior high school, senior high school, looks like we are abandoning basic education. And I mean, case in point is Sabonjida basic school and what we saw over there. But before we even engage our stakeholders and some participants, because we'll be engaging some of them, I do want to take us through the list of participants, those who will be putting their heads together to understand the key issues that need to be looked at and addressed in the education sector. But what did you make of the president's speech yesterday?
Schools like Sabonjida, they've always been there. It's not there for the sake of what happened in the last 8 years where the government was championing free education, free SHS. That's why, I mean, you remember schools under trees. It was a huge political issue from 2000s where every government, every party that wanted power was preaching about removing so number of schools under trees. So as for schools like these, they they go beyond the free senior high school policy.
Okay, so here we go. These are the list of participants. We have the principals of colleges of education, vice chancellors of technical universities of Ghana, vice chancellors of private universities of Ghana, Ghana National Association of Teachers, National Association of Graduate Teachers, that is NAGRAT, Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, Coalition of Concerned Teachers, Association of Ghana Industries, Conference of Managers of Education Units, National Council of Parents and Teachers Association, Alumni Alliance of Senior High Schools, National Unions of Ghana Students, Ghana National of Private Schools, Private Education Coalition, Ghana National Conference of Private Schools, Ghana National Association of Pre-Tertiary Schools, Conference of Heads of Proprietors of Private Schools, and then Teachers and Educational Workers Union, that's a popular one, Teacher Trainees Association of Ghana, Technical Universities, Teachers Association of Ghana, Founders of Private Units, Unis, Vice Chancellors of Ghana, and finally Stakeholder Engagement with Conference of Heads of Basic Schools. These are the participants or the national level stakeholders for this National Education Forum. Let's engage our guests now. Kojo.
Let's start from Dr. Peter Ante. He is the Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies, IFEST. He's been around for quite a time, and he knows much more about the education sector. He's part of those who are participating in this forum. Doc, grateful to have you. Let's start from the day one, which happened yesterday. What were your key takeaways from what happened in Volta region yesterday?
Thank you very much. I think it's been progressive so far. We had an extensive interaction here in home. There were two key keynote speakers who all touched on important aspects of our education. And then we had a section on the 5 thematic areas that we are deliberating on, which was productive. I was part of the education financing group. I did a presentation yesterday on funding education in Ghana. And I think that the contributions and the enthusiasm of the participants is something that we need to applaud, and we need to applaud the organizers of this because a whole lot of ideas are coming up, and it's our belief that people will be well documented and submitted to the relevant authorities of further action.
So, I mean, from your presentation and other presentations, I want to understand, we are not there. So I wanted to understand the key things that people have been speaking about and how that can shape the education of this country going forward.
Yeah, you know, the reason why I didn't go into it is that it is supposed to be a consultative forum where people will share ideas, but at the end of the day, these ideas would have to meet the test of its feasibility and other things before it's added onto the final decision. If you ask me this question today, because today we are firming up on all the ideas, if you ask me this question tomorrow, I'll be able to tell you where the direction is. But yesterday were ideas that were coming out in terms of funding. You need to get innovative ways to fund education, not go by the traditional ways of relying on government or relying on the GET fund, for example. You need to look at how capitation grants is handled, not using only enrollment to fund capitation grants. You need to look at the equity principle in funding education. You need to ensure that, like the documentary that you just placed yesterday, you don't have to wait for a media house to do the documentary before you begin the report, because you have to down all these issues that if you want to really and address the issue of lack of teachers or instructional data, there are some data.
Doc, I don't know what's happening to your line, but it looks like the quality we had from the beginning is quite dropping off.
Is it okay?
Yeah, let's give it a try.
Yeah, so as I'm saying, you don't need to wait for media houses to go and do documentaries before you act, because there's a lot of data sitting at the Ministry of Education that gives you an idea of where you are supposed to spend some of the scarce resources that we have. So there are a lot of ideas that are coming up in terms of funding. There are a lot of ideas that are coming up in terms of quality education, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of school accountability, in terms of research. And I think that after today, these ideas will be set up and then a clear direction will be given for each of the thematic areas that we are deliberating on there.
And I know that there are various interconnected levels where you need to review and all that. Like you said, ideas are pouring in. But I'm curious to know, what are your objectives going into this? Is it a week-long activity, engagement? What are your primary objectives?
You mean personal or the group?
Well, both personal and the group. Yeah, because it's all in one. This is your area, isn't it?
Yeah, the committee is tasked to develop national educational policy, and then follow up with an action plan. So that is the objective of the committee that has been set up. And they will be doing some regional tours and do some other consultative assemblies in certain places, meet certain targeted groups and so on. So after this one. But for me, my objective is to ensure that we provide the committee enough ground to be able to suggest to government that the mode of funding our policy are looked at. Yesterday, I stated at the forum that if you look at the funding gap that is needed, I mean, the minister is quoted as saying that we need 1.5 billion US dollars to do that. My expectation goes beyond that. But if you really want to deliver it by national standard, the minister would need something between 2.28 billion US dollars, 2.9 billion US dollars to be able to fund it. In fact, in recent times, the spending gap, funding gap that we have is over 100 billion US dollars. It means that you cannot rely on the conventional source of funding. You cannot look at government funding. You need
unfortunately, Doc, the last part of what you said just got lost. Can you repeat that again? Yeah.
So I'm saying that the minister is quoted as saying he will need 1.5 billion US dollars to be able to fund education in a year.
Right.
And I'm saying that the estimates that I have done indicates that he will need something more than that, something between 2.2 to 2.9 billion US dollars. And in the current situation, he needs to pay the gap of funding by having almost over 200 million US dollars to be able to really deliver the education that we want. And that means that you cannot continue to rely on your old mode funding ready. That is relying on the government of Ghana, which owns 70% of the funds that they speak, or relying on other sources that put together will not yield 10% of our education, especially at this time where we have challenges with donor funds. You know what is happening to health because of USA. Don't know what will happen next time in the future. So we need to think our funding of this. We need to really think about this funding. And those are the situations that we want to ensure that every single educational facility or education gets seeded funds to be able to deliver improvement in learning outcomes.
Right.
Reported that despite the amount of that the education, we still have learning outcomes going down. That is according to IM. That means that we are not doing something right. A lot of the system, we need to cut all to ensure that
Doc, I think we have to move on from you for a bit, and hopefully you can try and reconnect with us because the line is really not clear. We've lost We lost a big chunk of what you're trying to tell us. But let's engage Mr. Kofi Asare now. He's Executive Director of Africa Education Watch and also a committee member, those spearheading this National Education Forum. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on the AM show. Let's start from your takeaways from yesterday's. Do I still have Mr. Kofi Asare with me? Do we have Mr. Kofi Asare? Okay, I think we lost Mr. Kofi Asare. I was just reading an article, something he said yesterday about depoliticizing the school feeding program. Also connected there, you know, they are the ones who've been charged to spearhead this National Education Forum because there are so many issues there that we need to address. Let me try again and see if we have Dr. Pitanti still with us. Doc, are you still with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me well?
Yes, it's much better now. So I get that you said your focus is on funding. Okay, I'm told we have Mr. Kofi Asare back. Doc, please hold on for me. Mr. Kofi Asare, thank you. Good morning for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to your audience.
Great.
Good morning to Dr. Anti.
Great. We want to find out initial remarks. What happened yesterday? Were your expectations met? Are you encouraged that you're going to be meeting your targets? Just give us an assessment of how day one went for you yesterday.
Well, yesterday the committee hosted over 300 citizens from various organizations, from the community level to the district, national, and then regional level. And we had a launch being performed by His Excellency the President. After the launch, we had two keynotes from Professor Akwenyega and then Professor Kwame Achampong. The sessions, we had thematic sessions in infrastructure, education financing, research and evidence, in regulatory accountability and governance, and then also in quality. So stakeholders congregated around these 5 pillars, discussing key issues and recommendations required to transform our education system within the context of the various sub-levels in the education system, i.e. basic, secondary, tertiary, and then inclusion as a cross-cutting feature. And so today we are expected to continue the whole day having thematic discussions around how to make our education system more inclusive, how to bridge the rural urban gap in basic education, especially quality and access, how to improve education financing and make it more sustainable, how to enhance spending efficiency and accountability in education policy governance, curriculum reforms, how to enhance the quality of tertiary education, sustaining tertiary education financing, tertiary access, and also how to strengthen governance and regulation to enhance standards in our education. So basically, this is what the 5 thematic groups will be discussing the whole of today. In addition to that, we are today having a zonal forum for Volta region and Oti region at the whole technical university. So market women, drivers, artisans, parents, pupils, education managers from the school level, the district level, to the regional level, religious bodies, all stakeholders in education in the region are converging at the whole technical university, Georgia City Hall, to have a similar conversation as we did at the national launch. And from here, on Friday, we are going to have same zonal engagement for Western and Central region taking place at the University of Cape Coast, and then for Eastern and Greater Accra region on that same Friday at the UPSA. Then we move to the Northern region. So this is the plan for the National Education Forum. As it stands now, we are within schedule, and we hope that we continue to mobilize and receive the relevant stakeholder input and also build consensus on the way forward. Let me finally add that we have also received close to 1,200 applications through the email address we put out for eliciting proposals. So we are going to review all the 1,200 proposals we've received. We started already, and then we are going to add them to all the responses that we are eliciting throughout the nationwide zonal consultation, which will culminate in a national validation exercise that will take place between 26th and 28th of February in Accra. After which we will put together a policy framework and roadmap, an action plan to guide in the implementation of the validated outcomes.
But I mean, according to the former Deputy Education Minister, Reverend John Ntimfojo, he says there is a strategic education, a comprehensive education strategic plan, which was put in place since 2018, and it spans from 2018 to 2030. How different will the outcomes of this be from that strategic plan? And will it mean the shelving of that particular strategic plan?
If you carefully study the background paper and the concept behind the education forum as designed by the planning committee, this forum is situating its engagement within the context of the Education Strategy Plan 2018 to 2030. Okay. Now, the Education Strategy Plan, and the Deputy Minister may be aware of this, is structured into 3 parts. It's from 2018 to 2030, so it has 4 years, four 3-year medium-term plans within. The first medium-term plan was 2018 to 2021. Second medium-term plan was 2022 to 2025. Now, and the next one will be 2026 to 2029. Now, this engagement is taking place in the last year of the second medium-term plan. Okay. And so the engagements we are having and the processes will feed into what the NDPC has already started by way of a review of the second medium-term plan 2022 to 2025. At African Education Watch, with support from SCDO, we are also undertaking researches in selected deprived and endowed districts to gauge the level of inequality, whether it has reduced or it has increased between the end of the last medium-term plan, that's 2021, and then the end of this current medium-term plan, 2025. And so all these researches and other activities ongoing will feed into the new medium-term education sector plan, that's Education Sector Medium-Term Plan 2026 to 2030, which will be developed and operationalized from January 2026. So what we are doing is perfectly within the education strategic plan. Okay. It is just that instead of a few people sitting in Accra and then deciding how to do the next medium-term plan, we have decided to undertake participatory research to inform the way forward so that we implement our policies in a manner that doesn't deepen the inequality, but rather bridging the gap between the north and the south, or the deprived areas and the rural areas. And then also the government has also taken the path of having a participatory processes where citizens for whom education is delivered, beneficiaries of education, stakeholders at all levels, have a say into what goes into the next medium-term plan. So whatever we are doing, the Education Forum and other activities that African Education Force is conducting in various districts will all feed into the new medium-term plan, which is part of the Education Strategy Plan 2018 to 2030.
Before we go back to Dr. Pitanti, I just want to take you back to the zonal engagement you're doing today in Ho. What are your expectations? What are you hoping to achieve by the end of that engagement today?
Well, as you engage different layers, different categories of stakeholders, you want to find out what the key issues are in respect to inclusion, with respect to infrastructure, with respect to digital infrastructure, with respect to financing, with respect to regulatory compliance and governance, with respect to quality assurance, with respect to assessment and curriculum, etc., and then also data. And so we want to find out from these community, district, and regional level actors about how the dynamics are for their region. What are the issues, how do those issues affect access to and the quality of education and its relevance in an inclusive manner. And then and elicit recommendations from them in terms of how we can improve upon policy management or policy governance. So this is the whole idea. So perspectives may differ depending on the category of stakeholders you are engaging. But when you are engaging parents and PTA members, SNC members, you are engaging market women, you are engaging drivers association, you are engaging security men, because we know that the security agents have their own schools and all that. You are engaging people who ordinarily wouldn't have been part of the conversation if we were going by the normal route where we would just converge in Accra and then decide on how to progress in the next medium-term plan. So we are now, our expectation is that such people, given this platform, will have an opportunity to voice out, especially the focus should be on innovative approaches, how we can do things differently because we can't do the same things over and over again and expect different results. So how different can such problems be approached so that we hope to make progress? At the end of the day, I always say that the challenges of the education sector we are confronted with are not new. They are the same challenges, or virtually the same challenges that the sector was confronted with 20 years ago or 22 years ago when I started my practice. But what we need is a new solution or a new approaches to addressing existing challenges. And this is where we want the stakeholders attending today's zonal engagement at the University Hall at Root University to focus on what new solutions can we prefer to these deep-seated challenges that affect quality and also affect equitable delivery of quality education at all levels in the Volta and the Noti region.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kofi Asare, committee member and the executive director for Africa Education Watch. We do still have Dr. Pitanti with us online. Dr. Pitanti, so what I got from your initial presentation is that there are funding gaps, right? You said the minister mentioned 1.5 billion, but from your assessment, looks like we'll be needing about $2.7, $2.9 billion. Really, what are the concerns? The line was bad, so we didn't really hear and understand you clearly. Let's take it up from there. What were you trying to tell us?
All right, so is it okay now?
Yes, it's clearer now.
Great. So the point I was making is that the basic problem of our educational system is funding. And you will need to get a lot of money to be able to achieve all the things that you would want to do. Globally, you need to spend almost 16 to 20% of your government's total expenditure to be able to achieve your or deliver quality as we want it. Currently, doing some work for right of our ministry, and that is in that the funding was over 100 billion US dollars. I really want that the minister would input and 9 10 US dollars to be able to meet the funding. And when there's that money, there was so many that prove learning out. I also said your platform reported yesterday that the right amount of that is.
Doc, it's rather tragic that the line it's bad again. I really wanted to get the crux of what you're saying because it's really important.
Hello?
Yes. Are you moving? Are you moving around? If you could just reposition, stay at one place for us.
Okay, is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying that yesterday your platform mentioned that despite the amount of money that has been spent in education, we still have poor learning outcomes. And that is according to the IMF. That is an indication that there's a lot of inefficiencies in the system. So whilst we are pushing for an increase in funding for the teaching sector, we also need to look at the problem of efficiency. Go through the Auditor General's report. You see a lot of wastage that is going on there. You need to plug all those holes to ensure that money designed or designated for education is going to be used for educational purposes. And then also you need to think about equity in funding. You don't need to put money to where money is already in terms of provision of educational resources. So these are the discussions that we are pushing to the government, to the committee, to ensure that we have a solid funding mechanism supporting our education sector. That includes how we are funding SHS, for example, includes how we are funding basic education using capitation grants and all those things in between. How we are funding tertiary education. We need to have a robust system supporting it, and not the usual normal ways of doing things, but find innovative ways which have been communicated at this forum. So basically, that is what we are pushing from our field here.
Right.
Now, you did a presentation on education financing, right?
Yes, I did.
Great. And one of the main challenges with the free SHS is whether or not to allow parents to participate. From the suggestions you are getting at this forum and from your presentation, do you get the sense that people want to get the government to allow parents to be part of funding for free SHS?
Grace, I would have loved to skip this question. Well, from my perspective, I think that there should be other modes of funding 3SH. I have demonstrated in my presentation that government alone cannot continue to fund education looking at the various challenges available. I have also demonstrated that we cannot continuously rely on the oil fund because it is also not reliable. So there needs to be a third sort of funding policy, which is constant, sustainable. The mode and the detail of that, I think at the end of the forum, we will come to the
No, but from what people have said, do you get that sense that people want parents to be part of it? Because that is more sustainable.
I think that there's a clarion call for that, but from my perspective, I think we need to finish with a consultative process and see what the generality of the discussion will land.
Okay, all right.
Right before you go, I mean, you're a participant. Can you gauge the enthusiasm of other participants? How is it going? How are people receiving this? Right?
Super. Yesterday I was made kind of energy that was experienced by the opening, and then in my where we discussed finance, it felt like people feel that it's something that has and so let's avoid I think that on that energy would be something different with this.
Okay, Doc, the line is not really helping us. We're grateful to you for joining us here. It's been wonderful speaking to you, Dr. Peter Anti. Now, Gapsin Kofi Raphael is General Secretary of the Commission on the Council
for Parent Teachers Association, PTA. Yeah.
It's important we bring them into this discussion because as you hear the Minister of Education say, now they have been incorporated back into the running of public schools. It used to be PTA, then it came to PA.
Yeah. So now back to PTA. Well, let's engage Gapsin Kofi Raphael. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure having to speak to you on your big platform.
Okay. Now, let's start from the very beginning. When you heard that this education forum is actually going to happen, what were your expectations going forward, going into it? And then we can talk about the key things that you'll be focusing on during your engagement. What were your initial expectations?
Our initial expectations were, first of all of us agreed that development in education together we build. And one hand does not come. And issues of education are the heartbeat of parents, teachers, government, and other stakeholders who together contribute our resources to make sure that education gets the best of support and intervention. So when we saw that the current government had made a decision to organize a national education forum to build consensus and seek the inputs of other stakeholders to chart a common path for educational development and educational issues at the pre-tertiary level, we felt that it was the best way to go, and we gave thumbs up for the current government and the current administration, and for that matter, the Minister of Education and His Excellency, the President of the land, who has shown enormous goodwill that he means well for the Ghanaian people, especially parents.
And from what you've seen at this education forum, do you see that it's going to be from mere rhetorics to actual work geared towards development of education in Ghana?
You see, when you have two groups of leaders, one group of leaders brings a policy to you and say, I'm just informing you, this is how I want to implement it. Another person calls you to the table and says that there is a challenge. How do we fix it together? You see that the second person, how we can bring stakeholders on board so that we can fashion out the best policy alternative to sustain funding, to sustain infrastructure issues, to make sure that we're able to fix the deficit in relation with infrastructure, to fix the deficit in relation with other issues that comes together to provide the quality service that we need in the educational space. You will see that it was not just mere rhetoric, but they meant their ways. And this is a government who has realized the fact that Parent-teacher associations are private voluntary organizations whose funds, even though are not public funds, but they use it for a public good. And for that matter, if they also have a body corporate registered that is regulating that space of parent-teacher associations, it is better that they deal with us to get a bigger picture and also help together with us build national consensus and also know the nitty-gritty issues. There are a lot of issues within the educational space that because there's no a voice at the national level who will be able to bring it out. People say, oh, government is funding this. But when you go down there, whether is it the FQ, after 30 years of practicing the free compulsory universal education, of which I'm a very, very avowed practitioner of it because I've been in that space for the last 21, 22 years. I've been teaching, I've gone through the ranks, I head the basic school, the conference of heads of basic schools in Atibo and Mantin. I'm their chairman, I was their secretary, now I'm their chairman, and I know what we go through. I know what we go through as teachers, as head teachers, in looking for funding when capitation grant is in arrears and it's not coming, when other source of funding we need to support the schools are not coming. We reach out to the parents through the PTAs and tell them that, look, this is the challenge we have. How can you help us to fix? There are no furnitures in the school. We cannot let the children come and sit on the floor. And the parents will say, look, it doesn't cost so much to buy furniture. We are prepared to fund it. And they fund the furniture. Go to most of the schools, you see that even the furniture in the schools are being provided by parents. But the only challenge you see is that the furnitures are not the same because every parent sees whatever he can afford is what he brings on the table. And all these things affect their barriers. They inhibit the quality nature of education. You see that there are not proper textbooks in the schools. There are not even adequate textbooks in the schools. They lack a lot of things in the schools. And there's this PTA, the parent-teacher association, they support us. And even when government says, oh, we are providing feeding in some of the basic schools, you go and look at the quality and then the nature of the type of food they provide. Excuse my language, even some of us, our dogs will not take that food. But in the name that we are providing education, we think that we are doing a favor to parents. And government of most circles don't even take their children to these public schools. They take their children to the private schools.
Right.
And we think that it's not the best.
Mr. Gabson, so I mean, you've painted a picture of the situation for us well. What did you table? What did you present to the the forum yesterday when you were engaged? Be as specific as possible. What were the key issues that you presented to the committee yesterday?
We officially have submitted a memorandum to the Minister of Education through the chairman of the National Education Forum. And then in our submission, we've made them aware that PTAs has over the years, even up to today, been supporting in making sure that education gets the best results and support interventions. And we believe as parents that development in education together we build. And for that matter, we've been supporting the schools in various ways. We've been providing furniture, we've been providing teaching and learning materials, we've been providing classroom blocks, we've been providing sanitation and water facilities in the schools. But the PTAs have gone nose down because there's so much populist statements from government circles that creates the impression like parents in Ghana have become so irresponsible that the government can be more Catholic than the Pope with the parents. But when our children go to school, we provide them feeding support, whether day school or boarding school, whether at the basic level or at the secondary level or at the technical vocational schools, we support. And these are things we do daily. We provide, we support textbooks.
Right.
We provide.
Mr. Gabson.
These are things that we tell government, we are prepared as parents to see to that if there's any shortfall in funding of education. In fact, we ourselves, the envelope that is needed, the resources needed to provide educational development in our schools and provide that service. When it is lacking, we come in handy to support.
Great.
So
Mr. Gabson, please hold for us for a second. Mr. Gabson, just a second. I'm told we have Dr. Samuel Ofori-Bekwe with us. He's a curriculum expert. And do we have Mr. Hello, good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How was your experience yesterday at the National Education Forum?
Well, I would say it started on a very good note, especially the two keynote address speakers. They touched the right issues as far as education is concerned. You see, we've had many attempts at reforms, educational reforms in this country. The one thing that we've not really addressed in setting up our educational context is bringing in a kind of a philosophy that will address the issue of when we say an educated Ghanaian, who is that person? What are the characteristics of the qualities that that person should have? So that everything else will follow from that aspect. We've not been doing that. And I was happy that one of the key note address speakers pointed out that is there all countries that have been successful in using education to transform their economies and everything have had to address this issue of what kind of philosophy are we using so far as education is concerned? What kind of educated person we want to achieve national aspirations? And then I think the door has been opened for us to look at these things as we go forward, to address that particular issue so that we'll get it right this time. We've been going through circles of reforms, and mostly because we've not addressed this issue, we keep on making the same mistakes. And I hope that this time around we'll get it right.
Well, please hold for us. Let's also engage Bishop Emmanuel Fianu. He's Vice President of Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. Sir, thank you for joining us on the AM show this morning. Yesterday, we know that there was some omission, but the President apologized. Overall, how was your experience yesterday? Bishop, are you still with us?
We've lost Bishop there. We'll get back to him and get him into the conversation. Let's return to Doctor there. Doc, so if you look at the challenges with Ghana's education, of course, this meeting is to try and deal with the challenges we have in the sector. You are someone with who is an expert in curricula. What do you think must be the next focus in trying to change the face of education with for example, the forum that is happening currently?
Yes, as I said, we've had the pointers as to where to go. Now, all that we're looking for in this country is quality education. And we must together sit and define what quality education means for us and for who and for what purpose. Now, when that is done, then we look at, okay, so what are the main pillars that will ensure that our education is of the quality that we all demand. And we may look at 5 critical areas that will help us to really get the quality that we want. We'll have to look at the learners because education, I would say, is the only industry where the client himself or herself is also the input, the main input. And just like any industry, quality inputs turn out to give quality outputs. So if we don't have quality inputs, it means that the outputs are not going to be of that quality. So how do we ensure that the learners that are coming to the class for the teacher to engage with them are of quality? We are looking at the health, they are nutritional also. These are things that we have to look. We are looking at the environment, so the issue of the physical school setting and other things there, whether we have the technology or the settings that will drive the quality that we want.
Okay.
Then before we come to the content, what kind of content will ensure that we have the kind of educated Ghanaian that we want?
Prof, I'll come back to you.
Before we come to the outcomes, yes.
We'll come back to you for more on what you're telling us. But let's bring in Bishop Emmanuel Fianu, Vice President of the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. We're grateful to you, sir, for joining. Now, before this conference, we know that you raised some issues about neglect, because the Catholic Bishops Conference was not invited. But the President apologized to you yesterday. Let's start from there. What do you make of his apology yesterday?
Please come again.
I was asking of how you received the President's apology when he did so yesterday.
We accepted it in good faith because omissions can be made, but when it is pointed out, it is good one. Accept it that things the necessary amendment. So we are.
Okay. We know the Catholic Church is a big supporter of Ghana's education. There are so many schools throughout this country that you built. What do you think must be done? What is needed to try and achieve the sort of quality education we've all been calling for?
Well, on our part, one of the things that we are particular about is the management of the schools. Because if we are the legal schools, we believe we have to play a part in what's happening in schools. So, not being part managed, not being because the structure is that the Ghana the ministry teaching without state. So, with the part is clearly fine so that we can all play out. That's very that the reform.
Kindly reposition yourself for us so we can, because the lines seem to be dropping. But so at this forum, what has been your proposal in order to transform education in this country?
Well, today we will be making our input if we are given the chance. Yesterday we were only participants. So today we'll be making our input, and we intend to bring out a number of issues that we believe necessary for this reform. But apart from that, it's good to see that from the 10th of the second forum, where we outline all the things that we want to have.
Unfortunately,
Most Reverend, the line isn't helping us. Try to reposition. I don't know if you are on the move, but if you can reposition yourself so we can have, because you're making some very important points, but we're not getting it because it keeps breaking.
Can you get me now?
Okay, so you are making a point. Let's try again.
Yes, I was saying that we didn't make any presentation yesterday, but today we are hoping we'll be given the chance on this second day, and then we'll present some points. But for us, from the 10th to the 15th of March, we'll be holding the second Catholic Education Forum in Koforidua, and we are going to bring out more of the points that we think are necessary for this reform.
And what are the points you'll be sharing today? As you've already said
today,
before,
we'll be talking about the overpopulation of our schools, then the partnership which doesn't seem to work. We will be pointing out also the infrastructural deficit, and also the lack of religious, moral, ethical, and civic education in the curriculum. Because we think all that has an effect on what we see today in society, the negative attitudes.
Let's stay on that a bit. Is that absolutely important that we maintain religious studies in our curriculum? Tell us why.
I'm not talking about religious studies in terms of doctrine.
Yeah?
What I'm talking about is what we take from religion for character development. Yes, and that is what was part of the religious teaching in the schools.
So
but it's not a question of doctrine, but a question of how we can use the elements from our various religious backgrounds to build up the character of the individual for the good of society.
Yes, the clarity I'm looking for is if you want that incorporated in a curriculum or you want that as an approach to teaching and learning.
And it's integrated, because if it is not integrated, the approach will not come. Yeah, because if the teachers don't have it on the calendar, on their timetable, they will not teach even if they have the approach.
But Most Reverend, in terms of the 4 pointers you enumerated earlier, overcrowding, partnership that is not working, and the other 2 points, what will be your strategic proposal to dealing with these issues at this forum?
Our strategic proposal will be that we look at the management of the schools. How can the churches or the legal owners of some of these schools be involved in the management so as to carve out what exactly will bring out the desired result for the national reform?
Should the management of the school, some time ago, the Christian bodies who had schools were calling for the management to be returned to them. Do you still stand by that, or you think that it has to be a collaboration between you and the GES?
You know, in the partnership, everybody plays a role. Current, the partnership is not working because everything is done service. So if it's a partnership, then we should collaborate. That is the draft memorandum and stuff which on now has signed.
Well, Most Reverend, we couldn't hear that. Maybe we can try again and then we'll move on to, what did you say?
I said, in a partnership, every person who is in this partnership has a share in decision making. But in the current situation, we do not have, as religious bodies, we are not part of management. So we do not take part in decision making in our schools. But we think if it's a partnership, then we all have to be involved in what happens so that we can attain the desired result. And I think this will be resolved by signing the Memorandum of Understanding, which has been in draft form over so many years.
Most Reverend Emmanuel Kofi-Fianu, thank you so much for joining us. That is the Vice President of Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. And of course, we are looking forward to seeing your presentation today at the forum. Let's now engage Thomas Musa. He is General Secretary of NAT. Sir, good morning and thank you for joining us on the AM show. Do we have Mr. Thomas Musa with us? Kindly unmute, sir, if you can hear me.
Well,
please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear. So, you know, the committee is engaging various stakeholders and you're a major one, NAT. What are your expectations going into the forum that you will be engaged in terms of reassessing the key issues that need to be addressed in the education sector?
Yes, so thank you. Good morning to yourself and to all your viewers and listeners. Yes, so regarding the forum, that is on. I think the issue is about the ongoing forum by the current government.
Yes, the National Consultative Education Forum.
Good. I think we need to look at the theme which says that transforming education for a sustainable future. And I was there yesterday. We were giving the 5 pillars of the whole discussion. And the 5 pillars are, we're talking about infrastructure. And in terms of infrastructure, looking at the physical and the IT aspect of it. The second one is the quality education provision. Number 3 is education financing. The fourth one is regulatory and accountability systems. Then the last one is the evidence for decision making. Now, we need to situate this thing within Articles 25 and 38 of our Constitution. Article 25 provides for the issue of the free education aspect of it. Then, Article 38 provides for that's under the directive principles of state policy, directs what should be done within 10 years after Parliament having come into effect. Now, we need to establish that when we are talking about the issue of free SHS, there are 3 main issues we are looking at. Number 1 is access. And I repeat, when you are looking at free education, the first thing you look at is access. And in terms of the access, if you look at the current pillars that as I mentioned earlier on, infrastructure is about access, and the IT aspect also infrastructure is about access, because you need to create the necessary environment and the infrastructure to enable the children to engage. Now, the second aspect, in fact, as for the access, I can say on authority that the statistics and the figures we have point to the fact that we are doing well. Now, the second one is quality. Quality. Because when the framers of our Constitution spoke about the issue of access, it is not because they say access, so you just say anybody, let them come. No, but as long as the Ghanaian child goes to school, you must give that particular child quality education. The quality education, because the education we give to our children must enable them to be functional in society, must provide them with all the competencies, must give them all the values, must give them all the aptitudes, and must also give them all the required skills and other related matters to engage productively. Look, when we were in elementary school, or when we started school, we all knew something about the factors of production. Then the key among the factors of production is the human resource, or the human capital as today we call it. Because if you have a very good, strong, and capable human resource, even if you are on the desert, they will turn it around for you. They will turn it around for you. But as we speak now, the kind of education we are giving to our children, the kind of education we are giving to them, is nothing to write home about. Why do I say that? Look, as we speak now, capitation grant is in arrears for over 2 years. WAEC, we are owing WAEC over 100 million Ghana cedis. The feeding program we are talking about, it is in arrears. And even we say we are feeding our children on 1 CD 30 pesos a day. Go to the education offices, both the district and the region. Ask them when was the last time the government gave them the government subvention. The money is not going. And so, if we are saying that we are interested in providing quality education and all the needed resources that must go
we're losing
the basic, we are able. So if we want to talk about, we will take out the whole day. And so it is, and by so doing, we are creating a class society by the free SHS. When it came out, because the issue is how do we sustain the free SHS? It is not sustainable. Because we are currently dealing with equality. The good way to go, or the best arrangement for this particular kind of policy, should be equity. If we go by this,
Thomas Musa, we have to let you go, or hold for us, because the line is not very clear, and you're making some really valid points on access, quality, and all that. Let's bring back Professor Samuel Ofori-Bekwai.
They care of the rich and the petty.
Mr. Thomas Musa, please hold for us for a second. Let's engage Professor Samuel Ofori-Bekwai while we try to work on your connection, because it's not very good. Prof, are you still with us?
Yes.
I know that the curriculum at various levels, in the education sector have come under some controversies. Not basic education that I haven't heard of, but in terms of Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, how some of them stay home, others go home and all. What exactly are you looking forward to at the end of your engagement? What changes are you looking forward to in the curriculum that we are using at basic education level and senior high school level?
Well, thank you very much. It's not only those two levels, it should be all levels. And as I indicated, it's all coming from the issue of quality. And so if we get a definition of what we mean by quality and what kind of educated Ghanaian that we want, then everything else will follow. So the issue of, for instance, when you spoke with the bishop, he was talking about the role of the church having to do with management and all those things. They fall under two of the pillars that I was mentioning. That's the environment and then the process. When you don't have quality environment, then you cannot have, no matter how good your content is, you won't have the quality outcomes. When even the content is good and the process of delivering the content having to do with the teachers' professional skills and knowledge, the supervision and management of the schools and all those things, if they are also not of a certain level of quality, then you're not going to have the outcomes that you want. So they work as a system. Interconnected systems, each one helping the other. It's like gears of an engine. So we take quality education as a whole, as an engine, and these are the various parts of it that when we address and the work is tandem to ensure that we get what we want. And so quality is not only in the curriculum. When we are talking about curriculum, we have so many components. Not just what is the content that's being delivered by the teacher in the classroom.
Right.
So that's what I mentioned. For me, there's 5 pillars. That's the learner, the environment, the content, the process, and the outcome.
Okay.
And all these things that we are talking about fall under each of these pillars that I've mentioned. For instance, we're talking about the capitation grant and school feeding program. A child that is not well fed or has some nutritional issues, studies have shown that that child suffers when it comes to learning. And so if you want the child to be engaged well and learn and have quality outcomes, then the child must be both physically, psychosocially, mentally, and everything healthy. And who is it that to provide those things that will make the child healthy? It's a partnership between the public and parents and other institutions coming together to ensure that this child has the requisite things that he or she needs to enter the classroom to learn.
So
and then when he enters the class, what kind of classrooms are we having? Is it the kind of overcrowded classrooms that we have, or are we going to have classrooms that are really set up for the 21st century? We're talking about teamwork, collaboration, and yet we have a classroom that's arranged in the order where the teacher stands as an authority before the kids, and they are all down there watching the teacher. It does not really produce the kind of team, cooperative environment that we want our learners to get before going to the world of work.
Right. Talking about the world of work, talking about the world of work, I mean, do you agree there's some sort of mismatch between the curriculum and the job markets or the job market needs? Or should I just say theory-heavy programs that do not really meet the workforce demands? How do we, is that part of the issues or the concerns that you might be addressing, and how do we actually walk that line?
Yes, let me first say, yeah, it's part of the concerns that's coming out. But you see, that issue sometimes you also do overflow it. What we actually need, because no educational system can produce directly people for the world of work, because issues of the world of work is in flux, very dynamic. And so if you want to produce exactly the kind of skills that it has world of work from the school level, it means that every year, every term, you have to be changing your curriculum. What we need to do is to make our learners lifelong learners and adaptable, so that they can adapt to the changing environment in the world of work. The school can never catch up if you look at that. So the best thing to do is to make them seekers of knowledge, lifelong learners, so that when they leave the school with the basic skills of how to seek for knowledge, how to seek for self-improvement, then wherever they find themselves, we call it the soft skills. So wherever they find themselves, they apply these soft skills and they're able to fit perfectly, so that whatever changes that is being driven by the world of work, they will easily adapt to those changes and fit in, and they themselves will easily become drivers of the change as we move forward. But when they lack those skills of adaptation, those lifelong learning skills, that is where the problem comes. That's why we now say that they are not fit for work. Being fit for work is having those skills to be adaptable to the changing work environment.
Okay. We know that when it comes to curriculum, it was tinkered with in the last administration, where they were looking at making it more practicable, more practical curriculum. Looking at the time this has been implemented, not even up to 5 years or so, must it be a focus at this education forum where they will be looking at how to deal with the curriculum of a sort?
I think you heard the NAT General Secretary saying that there are still some issues with the curriculum that is being implemented now. And as I also did indicate, it's not only the content. So for some, perhaps some of the subject areas, the content now may be okay. But what are the other things that we need to ensure that everything goes through for, in the end, we'll get quality outcome?
Okay.
So these are the things that we are looking for, and those that need to be technically reviewed to inculcate the new things that are coming. For instance, we are looking at issues of cultural values. The bishop said it, the president also mentioned, His Excellency made mention of that. All right. It seems not be present in the current curriculum. So how do we integrate these values in our curriculum such that the educated Ghanaian will be a conscientious, honest, and a person of integrity? These are the things that we'll be looking for in reviewing the curriculum going forward.
Okay.
Professor Samuel Ofori-Bekwei, curriculum expert, thank you so much for joining us on the AM show.
Thank you for.
Let's circle back to Gabson Kofi Raphael. He is General Secretary of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Associations. Sir, thank you for staying with us. Now, what I'm hearing so far, I'm tempted to say that there's little partnership, you know, between industry and academia. Is this also a concern for you? And is that something that we should be focusing on during this engagement?
We should go beyond the industry and academia partnership and look at those who are consumers of the products of education, which is we the people. We believe that there should also be a partnership between government and then parents. We should be able to, government must be able to acknowledge that PTAs are distinct from both the GES and the Ministry of Education, and also allow parents to contribute towards infrastructure development and making sure that we can be able to eliminate the double track, the schools under trees, the dilapidated classrooms in the systems. Because PTAs used to provide major school infrastructure, but the PTAs went nose dive for some years now, both at the FQ level, that's the basic school level, and at the secondary school levels. And then the support and intervention that PTAs were provided is now probably at as low as probably 20%. We used to provide about 70-80% support. We do these things and we donate to the schools, and it improves upon access, it improves upon quality, it improves upon the kind of educational quality we are all looking for. We are also looking at the possibility whether there can be a 70% government intervention support in education and 30% from parents. Government should be able to draw the line and say that, look, I can provide A, B, C, and D, but these other ones, which we know the parents have been doing it, we would like parents to probably fully come on board for us to look at it and look at a model, a funded model that can work to make sure that the sustainability issues that we are talking about, we can do it. And you see, one head does not go into council, and we all agree that in our local account balance, they said that also Bordia no one could do. It means that it's not all the time that one way can solve problems. And Sankofa Yenchi, if you go back to the basics, and you cannot lay education on a weak foundation. The foundation of education is at the basic school levels. And I was very happy that the General Secretary of NAT was drawing attention to the fact that even subventions from government for the GES offices, both at the district, the regional levels, to be able to do monitoring and evaluation and assess the nature of products that we are churning out in the schools. And it's become so porous. And let me tell you in confidence, in Atebubu, this is known. We can go and ask, we can go and do the feasibility. We support the office in so many ways that I cannot say it publicly. Sometimes it's so distressed that the directors become so helpless, and they now have to run to me, both in my capacity as a PTA General Secretary and also as a Municipal Corps Chairman, that what can we do to make sure that exams can be written not on the blackboard, but normal practical exams as we are seeing this thing. And with the PTAs come in handy to provide funds to make sure the exams are being run. And we are doing this and it is working. Why can't we scale it up at the national level? And for public,
are you sure that parents will be willing to, to do this?
Doing it already. I'm saying parents are doing, you yourself as a parent, you are paying. You know you are paying. You pay for your child's education in the schools. Dues and levies are for associations. Fees are for government. Government says I've taken up, when there was even fees and both the dues and levies, parents were paying. Government says, oh, my school fees are approved. The whole year for basic schools is maybe 50 Ghana cedis. For secondary schools, it's 100 Ghana cedis. Then the PTAs goes and sit down and also look at what they can charge in terms of dues and levies, and they add it to whatever government has. And we pay. That was what we're doing. What I went through. I'm almost 45 years now.
Right.
My father used to come for PTA meetings, and they do this thing to support us. And they gave us the best result. Even the money that government is paying, is not our taxes. It's not our taxes.
Right.
So you're rendering a service for us for using our taxes, and there's a challenge in the system. And we say, let's fix it together. And you want to be more collect than the Pope. Can government love our children more than us? We don't want to sit down again and somebody will sit somewhere and regulate a system for us that doesn't work to suit our interests. We and the teachers feel the heat in the classroom because we carry our children to the schools, we hand them over to teachers. And we need the teachers to give us a feedback about the academic support services going on in the schools. If there are challenges, they should tell us to help them fix it together. So we are not going to be sitting on school boards, SMCs, and be lamenting. The Bible has 66 chapters. It's only one that talks about the book of Lamentations. The others talk about hope and inspiration. We are here to provide hope and inspiration in the education system. The oxygen needed to make sure education get the required quality, to get the required infrastructure intervention, to get the required support services. We are ever ready to provide it, but we are saying that government, let's sit down, let's look at it together with those who are also founders of education, like the college churches and all those things. We can all put our heads together. Look, I had a college school, and let me tell you in confidence, when we go to them to ask them that, oh, we have this, and say, oh, government has taken the school over from us. So they say they can do it, they should do it and we'll see. Meanwhile, the school bears a Catholic name. They say Atebubu Roman Catholic St. Thomas Aquinas JHS. So what are we discussing? So the stakeholders must come together and we'll fix whatever challenge that we find in the system.
Which is really what this education forum seeks to do, right? To engage stakeholders. So just give me three, hold on for me, Mr. Kofi Raphael. So give me 3 points or key issues that you would consider as success for me. At the end of the engagement, at the end of you tabling all these concerns and issues to the committee, they say they're going to put together a policy framework. What would you want to see in that policy framework, which to you would be called a success?
To see that the parental voice in education, which is key and critical, because upon all the jobs you all do, whether you are president of Ghana, whether you are a national general secretary, whether you are whatever not, the bottom line is that you are a parent. So our voice as a parent, and we, the children, are our property. It's not for government. The schools belong to communities. The communities that the schools are found, when the school perform, it elevates the image and reputation of the community. When the schools down, it is the communities that will be called out. So we need to look at this thing that, look, education is just like the baobab tree. One head or one hand cannot hold it. Let's all put our resources together and see how best we can solve this problem going forward. And we are looking for not partnership that doesn't work. We are looking for workable partnership. We are looking for changing the model of type of supply of furniture. You are there, the local communities can provide furniture. And for procurement issues and inflating contracts and other things, they will bring furniture from Accra. That doesn't make sense for us in the local communities. There are a lot of people that are wastages in the educational space, and we think that when we put ourselves, and we are looking at the kind of parental engagement that is not just bringing things to us and say, we're going to implement this. We want to be on school boards, not only on school boards, we also want to be seen that the GBS Council, the parental voice is represented there. The PTA should have a national representative. We are looking at all the groups, the education regulatory bodies. What affects the pre-tertiary space that we have an input, we should be able to come in handy. Well, these are the kind of things that we are looking for. Now, we thank the president for the opportunity, and we thank the minister for creating this space and this leverage for all of us to discuss it. We are not interested in going to the schools and they will tell like that capitation grant hasn't come. We are going to do sports and culture. The parents must contribute. No, we want to get a proper funding model. Then when we are charging our PTA dues and levies, we know that we are taking care of sports and culture, we are taking care of security issues. You go to some of the schools, and the next day, they break the schools because there are no security people. Because government is employing them. And the PTA shoes their man to do all these things in the school.
Gabson, I think we get your points. We get the points that you've made and everything you're looking for to see that policy framework.
I guess the parents want to be part of funding.
That's it,
the free SHS, for example. So government will discuss it and then
we talk about the free SHS alone. Thank you for education.
Okay, Gabson, thank you so much. Very passionate over there, and I understand. He said that we own the children, not government. We still have Thomas Musa with us. He's General Secretary of NATS, I think. Sir, thank you for staying with us. You have the final word. At the end of all the things that have been said here today, drop a pin. What are your thoughts for us? Final words.
Only one thing.
Yeah.
Only one. Only one, and that is funding for pre-tertiary education. That is all. Dedicated funding for pre-tertiary education. Dedicated funding for pre-tertiary education. That is all we are asking for. That is all we are asking for.
Right.
That is all. I don't want to go do anything beyond. Dedicated funding for pre-tertiary education. Look, we should avoid a situation where we provide subsidy for the rich. The free SHS, like I said, it is good, but it amounts to providing subsidy to the rich. Subsidy to the rich, because why should the rich man's son or daughter go to school together with the poor, and that the banku that you want to give to the poor man's son or daughter, the same banku should be given to the rich man's son or daughter free? In which country do you develop like that? In all countries, the policies they adopt, it is what we call the equity. Give to each person according to his or her needs. That is all. And the only way to go now is get the dedicated funding. Hello?
Would we be fair to them? The people you call, you don't know, you cannot really tell whether someone is rich or not. So is it going to be optional? Say that if you can't pay, then pay for your ward? Or they're just going to say if you have a certain income, what are the dynamics, the modalities? How would this work? Even if, yeah.
There are three models of policy or policies. The first one we call the distributive policy, or in other words, you call it the equality policy. Equality policy could be applied. So, for example, when let's say you are doing the national ID card, the Ghana, what we call the Ghana card. That one, the equality principle can apply. Everybody must get it. Everybody. You are giving out passport. The equality principle must be applied. Everybody, once you are a Ghanaian, you must get it. That is what we call the distributive or the equality policy. But there is one aspect we call redistributive or the equity policy. The equity policy comes in when you are going to roll out something, but you know that, look, you are going to do. There are some people who cannot afford, but there are some people who can afford. For example, education. In education that we are talking about, in this country, we have the private schools run by, for profit motive and all that. And we have the government schools. Go and check the government schools. The money that government must provide for the schools to run, the monies are not going. But the private schools, the money to get the money to give to them for them to run. At the end of the 10 years or 9 years, these two students or these two groups, they are going to write, the exams. What do you think you are doing to those in the public schools? It amounts to discrimination, which the Constitution frowns on. So when we are talking about equity, it means that you take care of those who don't have, as those who have also help.
Right.
This is the principle. Right. Let me give you some example again. The LEAP program are easy for everybody. The LEAP program is for everybody. Then everybody should get some.
All right.
Everybody should get some.
Thomas Musa, that's our time. Thank you so much. General Secretary of Ghana National Association of Teachers. We also spoke to Dr. Peter Anti. He's Executive Director, Institute of Education Studies. We also spoke to Kofi Asare, committee member and Executive Director, National Education Forum, as well as Professor Samuel Ofori Bekwe. He's a curriculum expert. And of course, Gabson Kofi Raphael. He's General Secretary of the National Council of Parent-Teacher Associations of Ghana. And Most Reverend Emmanuel Fianu, he's Vice President of the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference. They all joined the conversation, helping us to understand what's happening in this National Consultative Education Forum. Stay with us. We will serve you AM Business and many more conversations. And of course, we open the phone lines for you to have your say, all on the AM show. We'll be right back. I hope hope you're having a good Wednesday. Well, coming up next on the AM show, we serve you AM Business. And the Executive Director of the Ghana Gold Expo Foundation, Dr. Stephen Aka, has made an appeal to the government to reduce taxes within the extractive sector. According to him, this is pertinent to supporting players within the sector to expand and create job opportunities for the youth. And he spoke to Joy Businesses, James Eshen, and he's on that beat. Enjoy.
Why would a guy bring gold all the way from Takwa or from, let's say, Obuase to PMMC, to the government, whereby somebody is giving him a good price?
Okay. Okay.
Are you getting this now? But if the government says, I'm buying the gold at the spot price, however, I have my agencies in these various areas, so irrespective of the amount of quantity that you have, I'm willing to buy it, and it is clear. I don't think, I don't want to mention other names, but I don't think that person will come and, intensify the pricing by changing the pricing. Because, and it's the main reason why BOG came in as part of the domestic purchase program, to ensure that we don't want you to suffer by giving you a price. So the price you are having allows you to feel that you're also making profit as a miner. You understand? The fair mine is the non-financial incentive that we were expecting, and that could have been the medium term. And because we said after 4 years, that should start. Okay. And what we wanted was, we wanted to see that BOG were providing equipment, financing, were providing data gathering in terms of geological data with the geological survey. This, we've not seen them. We've heard that MEF was doing that. Yeah. And we're much happy to see MEF doing, but later realized that MEF have switched from what they were doing to something different. And to us as policy, we realize that doesn't make sense. Why should MEF be part of domestic purchase program or good for FX or good for oil? Because the sole responsibility of MEF is to collect our royalties in the mining sector. And most of what they've done, and I think quite did well by even entering to the salt industry and the other minerals. So we have more than 21 minerals that, they are currently in Ghana. But we're too shocked, and it's because the formalization program was not in place. So the various departments in the mining space were willing to jump onto gold for oil. So you see where the issue is coming from. But if they could have gone by the policy, first, we need due diligence. So being it MEF, being it Bank of Ghana, being it Minerals Commission, PMMC, we need to onboard you into the due diligence and the responsive sourcing program. Then we know that this policy is done. Then we now move to the non-financial incentives. Then, okay, what is PMMC doing? What is Bank of Ghana doing? We realize that it is the sole responsibility, if not so, at least, MEF and BOG could have come together to provide the incentive by providing data, gathering, and other things. But what MEF was doing was totally different from what BOG was doing. And I can tell you that the only institution that has been part and we are still willing to work was Bank of Ghana, because Bank of Ghana, as stated by the Act, allows them to do so. But the other department were not too comfortable. And I might say that looking forward, there's a new act going to come up. We want to see what they're going to clearly stated. But the operational framework has to be established to allow the full impact of the good for oil.
Now, on the back of that, what do you make of the news out there with the new government saying he intends to review this particular policy? What do you make of it?
Yes, I think it's a good. It's a good point. For now, we can't talk much because they just formed a legal committee to bring out the program in place. Once the legal committee is done with their work and they submit to Parliament for the bill to be passed, that is why I think we can now come in and speak, because by then we can now say, okay, fine, why don't we look at the existing policies that are in place, the things that the previous government did, what you also want to do, and we can now look at, but as I'm saying, we've seen that formalization has been key in the sector and it's still not there, because the major problem that have occurred in the good for oil or in the good for FX has been formalization, because BOG is doing something different because they are the pioneers, they're allowed to do that. PMMC also want to do something different. how do you call it, MIF is also trying to do something. So at the end of the day, you see that everybody is, I mean, the whole program is scattered. However, if you look at the World Gold Council, it clearly states that the domestic purchase program can be used as an alternative for swapping. It means you can even do gold for fertilizer. You understand? Because you have Cocoa Board. Cocoa Board has syndicated loan available. So why don't you use some of the gold to collaborate with, Cocoa Board, and instead of bringing fertilizer, you can even pay, because most of the fertilizer come from Dubai. You understand it? Because it's clear. But I think the point we have here is that formalization has not been our practice. And that is why the Gold for Oil program is gradually, we are not seeing the impact. But if the current government bring out the legal committee and they invite the key institutions who look at policy, we can now look at it and come out with proper operational framework that will support the Gold for Oil. I don't think the government should end the Gold for Oil program, because it's clear. And at somewhere in June, the World Gold Council is inviting. I was shocked yesterday. I received an email from the World Gold Council that Ghana has been published officially, in the reserve program, and they stated that Ghana is among the top 5 countries that are practicing the domestic purchase program under the World Gold Council. And I was trying to check. In December, the central bank purchased 1 ton, which is 1,000 kilos of gold. So it means it's good. You understand? We can't stop it, but the challenge is changing of policies, changing of programs, and not bringing the right people on board is causing, because the miners are suffering. If you go to the mining site, the miners are suffering. You don't give money to one person that will go and buy gold, and that person, in a way, create 20 companies with his cousins, with his friends. And the main miner that is even paying dues to the small-scale miner association is not benefiting. Galamsey will continue. You understand? The government provided, I think we helped them in 2020 to launch the mercury-free machines. The question we need to ask ourselves, has there been any audit with the mercury-free machine that was the government supported the small-scale miners? If there's been audit, can we see it's part of the transparency policy? Can we see it? 2, how many produce or extraction during the process of the gold has these machines be able to produce and sold even to PMMC? Because the money was spent by the Minerals Commission. If we have 100 machines well displayed, we are happy, because something that we've been advocating. By the miner in the Western region, in Takwa, in the Nyanase, the machine get to him, and if the machine got to him, did he use mercury or he did not use mercury? So I hope you understand this.
Let me come in once again. There have been concerns within this particular, the extractive sector, that taxing the extractive sector, is less. Yeah. What do you make of that? Quick, we are running out of time. Quick. Should it be increased, or there should be the need for us to reduce taxation within the extractive sector?
We need to reduce it. It needs to be reduced.
And wouldn't that impact?
No. Gold is the rare currency. The only thing that holds fluctuation of currency, we have different types of currency. We have the M1, M2, M3. Gold is the only thing that can hold or that can back the economy. So why do you even want to add taxes to it?
The country needs money.
No. Why? BOG says they want to hold the FX so that there's not too much fluctuation of dollar in Ghana. So once BOG is holding the FX, they don't even care too much about how much they want to buy the gold, because the biggest headache is changing the cedi to dollar to even go import refined product and other commodities. So now, if I'm a miner, you've given me machines and I'm selling gold to you, why are you taxing me? Because I'm bringing you the actual currency. The actual currency is gold. If I'm exporting the gold, and if you look at it, you see that most of the gold that PMMC exported, they didn't pay tax on it. I don't know if you're aware. You don't need to, they didn't pay tax because they are holding the rare currency. Are you getting it? So the 1.5 that currently the exporters are paying, I think we still need to revisit it. Why? Because if the indigenous people are giving you back the gold, it means they are increasing production. Increase the production of the miners, formalize the system, and tell them that at the end of the day, you want all gold to come, so that even if the foreigner is coming and is bringing in FX, it goes to Bank of Ghana, and these people benefit. But increasing the taxes that we've seen, Ghana is very bad in terms of tax collection. So focus on the rare currency, and the rare currency is what? Is gold. And that's what we have as a country. So why are you wasting your time with other things that you are unable to even meet?
You spoke about formalization. You spoke about formalization. Yes. Then what else should help this sector again? Quick,
the international requirement.
Okay.
We shouldn't focus too much on LBMA. Now we have the responsible sourcing program in place. Okay. We need to call all the players together and create our own label.
So there should be some form of coordination.
Yes.
Okay.
The coordination is something that we need to look at now, so that we can have our own label, which is the hallmarking. Dubai that we are exporting our gold to is not a member of the LBMA. However, they go through the responsible sourcing and the formalization program, so it allows every refinery to comply by the law. So let's go by the policy we have, backed by the law, so that we can say, okay, Ghana today have produced their own gold label. Okay. So any gold that you even have in the village, you know that if you are selling the gold to somebody else, where is the label? There's no label on it. That means the gold we're having is fake or is not genuine. We don't have that. So until we have the gold label, it will allow Ghana to avoid all this guarantee, because the person knows that immediately he produces X amount of gold, PMMC is coming to give the stamp right at the refinery. And PMMC should not just sit in Accra. They should go out to the various mining districts and support these people by giving them the best advice. They should give them more money. The miners need more money. I don't think if you give money to a miner that have gone through the right process, the miner will still do galamsey. My brother, the miner is doing galamsey because you've not given him licenses. You've not given him the financial support. He have also heard that when the government says distribute money to people to buy gold, the money did not go to them. It goes to people that have no knowledge. They don't even have a license to buy gold. However, the money was given to them, and they formed their own companies, and they were selling gold. You expect galamsey to stop? No. So to do the right thing, and also I think the government should minimize the aspect of military. Technology is taking over. Okay. Look at what Elon Musk just did. In a second, he was supposed to use technology to close down several offices across Africa. Why are you always sending the military? The military should be part of us, but technology is one of the key things that if you ask the Chamber of Mines, they will tell you they have access to every coordinate in all the landscape. Why can't the government of Ghana introduce or implement such program so that we know the coordinate of every small-scale mining, rather than always talking too much about galamsey? I think that's what we need to do.
Grateful to have you, Doc. So we've been speaking to the executive director of the Ghana Gold Expo Foundation. He's in the person of Dr. Stephen Aka. I mean, he's been running us through some of the issues within this particular sector, the extractive sector, and for that matter, gold. In this case, we've been talking about the gold for a year, and he's been calling for some form of coordination, which he believes could be of some critical help to Ghana's economy.
And it's the last lap on the AM show this morning. But before we pick your calls, get ready. The numbers we put on your screen in a minute. But before we get there, there are important pieces of information we need to bring to your attention. We want to select solar systems from our various solar packages ranging from 30,000 cedis to 99,000 Ghana cedis. And all our solar systems come with lithium-ion batteries. So get a solar water heater, a solar home system, a solar power station, or a solar generator ranging from 1,000 watts to 20,000 watts. And we also sell reverse osmosis machines for water treatment. Google Solarmates Ghana to find us both on Facebook and on Instagram, or simply call 050-832-0470. Solarmates Ghana is located at Ajungano East Legon. Solarmate, we go everywhere. Now, Ghana, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right, the tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is the champion of all water tanks. It is strong, it is durable, and built to handle our Ghanaian weather, rain or shine. Syntex tank has your back. So my people, go outside, check your tank, and if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call 0244-335-168 to buy now, or find one of our various tanks, 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, strong, tough. Kojo.
Well, Medical's Hospital is a modern healthcare facility built with your recovery in mind. Spacious wards built with your family in mind. A warm and caring pediatric unit built with your children in mind. And we have assembled some of the brightest minds in medicine, led by Dr. Yao Osafo, the drive time doctor to serve you. Remember, right? He's always on joy with Lexus talking about health. Now, we offer general medical services as well as specialist services in plastic surgery, obstetrics and gynecology, child health, urology, psychiatry, and eye care. Additionally, we offer a comprehensive medical diagnostic service encompassing endoscopy, medical laboratory services, x-rays, and scans. Now, we have a 24-hour pharmacy that ensures you will always receive efficacious, safe, and affordable medicines. We bring to you the most powerful medicine of all, simple human kindness and empathy. We take pride in holding ourselves to the highest attainable standards. We accept all forms of payment, including that one from your private health insurance companies. Locate Medical's Hospital at number 10 Kintso Street near Ashaliboche School Junction. You can also reach us on 0501-477340 or reach us on social media at Medical's GH. Medical's Hospital, a place of healing. Call us now and let's have a take. Have your take. 0302211691. 0302211691. Sweetie.
Yes, we have our very first call online with us. Hamza, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, sweetie.
It's good to hear your voice.
Good morning, Kojo.
Good morning, Hamza.
Yeah, the last time when I called, I was like, it's for tax, the revocation. I was speaking about the revocation. I was like, it's for tax. But I mean, they are all Ghanaians, so this government should facilitate things and then re-employ them back. I think when you look at that, some the appointments are legitimate. They should just instate them to work. At least they are all Ghanaians, and then this current about employment. Having said that, I will say something more about Uber and
OSP's wanted list.
It's okay. It's okay, but he should come back and answer question. If he knows that he's not wrong, we have to do it. And you ask for whatever question and you go, if you are fine. If you are not doing anything, then you go. Those are we were all down that were alleged that doing that. And so things that he has come back.
Well, the line keeps tripping there, but your point is well made. I think we get you. Just that Ken Oforiatta, according to OSP, has given a definite date. He will be returning to the jurisdiction. So your worry has been catered for, but you can also call us by the lines on the screen 0302211691. Give us a call and let's have your say on the issues that we've discussed on the show. Remember, we focused mainly on the National Education Forum, which is underway in the Volta regional capital of Ho. Yeah.
And let me usher in Prosper from Ofuanse. Prosper, good morning.
Morning,
How
Madam
are you?
City and Kweju.
Prosper, share your thoughts with us this morning.
Yeah, Madam, please, I want to talk on the educational reforms going on. I heard of a 5-pillar something, but I don't know whether that includes the welfare of the teachers, because I heard a man who came to speak on access and quality.
Yeah.
The access meaning providing infrastructure, and then quality education. The one who will deliver to the student, that person is not paid well. So is there, among the 5 pillars, that talks about the welfare of the instructor?
Well, I haven't heard it, but it's a good point to raise now because they are still in the forum discussion issue. So if someone is minded, they will probably take this up, because I think you have a good point that the teacher who's at the center of deploying all of these good policies has to also be looked at. But you haven't heard much more about it. I
Yes. So they can provide the infrastructure, everything, but if the teacher is not paid well, how is he going to deliver from his heart?
Okay. But you know, teaching is a calling. So once you're a teacher, we pray that you are taken care of well, and we'll fight for that. But if that hasn't come, you don't also have to say because of that, you won't teach out of your heart. Remember, yours is a calling. Okay?
Please, I get you. But someone who is having the same qualification as I do, who finds himself in the security services, in a cocoa board, they are paid well. And I'm in the teaching field.
Yeah.
I cannot be rendering service, even by a teacher, even by a car. It can take him or her about a 5 years. But someone whose salary for just 6 months can buy that car.
Are you aware of the story where some students came together to buy a car for their teacher because of how he was to them? So yes, I get it. Like I said,
how many students have that?
Like I said, we'll keep fighting so that your conditions will be improved. But I don't want you to also use it as a basis for you not to give off your best when you're teaching these kids. We are
doing that. We are giving forth our best, but we cannot continue to do that.
Okay.
Hamza, if it's any consolation, the national level stakeholders that will be engaged during this forum, most of them are teachers, a tall list actually, which are mostly teachers. So thank you. I'm sure they'll bring it up in the course of their discourse, because after all, they're trying to reform and address the key issues in the education sector. Let's bring in our last caller. Good morning. Thank you for calling. What's your name? Do we have our last caller on the line? Well, while we wait for that, I was saying that the national level stakeholders to be engaged, Brace, is most of them are teachers. We have principals of colleges of education, vice chancellors. Right. We have Amandi, our last caller. Amandi, good morning.
Good morning.
What's on your mind? You're our last caller.
Yes, it's the issue of adopting closure of reduced. I think the communication ministry should try and test him very well. Don't let schools be like doing what they end for them becoming this coming to victimize society. Shouldn't fight in the first assignment so it's program and it's like you look at it, it's like these are growing expectations with these things. And then if you ask them to go and they should give them that benefit. So it's good if you don't pass, you don't come and do that. The next thing is on the teachers, now that the education, if they are doing this and they are not doing the benefits, definitely do not just this thing at all. Because they need to really, I heard of people who say that they call him, every calling, anywhere find out, they call it. So they shouldn't that particular thing that teachers calling it, right?
Hamza, unfortunately, I don't know, something, it's tragic today. The line has been bad.
Yeah.
But two people have said reform so far. Mind you, it's a forum. It's a consultative Stakeholder Engagement Forum, not a reform yet. At the end of this forum, they're going to put together their findings and report, and then they'll craft a policy framework out of that. The theme is transforming education for a sustainable future. So hopefully all the concerns and the key issues that needs to be addressed will come up, and they'll find a way to work it out. And that's our show, folks. Thank you so much for joining us on the AM show this morning. My name is Sweetie Abochi.
And I am Samuel Kojo Brace. Thank you so much for being a part of us. Let's meet again, God willing, tomorrow. But we'll leave you in the hands of News Desk, which is being brought to you by the one and only Faustina Safar.
Well, it's bye for now. Thank you for watching. Mwah. Good.